battle with an illness. Tributes are pouring in from global leaders and citizens alike, remembering the first Latin American pontiff known for his humility and focus on the marginalized. Yesterday, U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance has arrived in India for a significant 4-day visit, marking the first trip by a U.S. Vice President to the country in over a decade.
Discussions are expected to focus heavily on strengthening bilateral ties.
The United States and Iran have reportedly held constructive discussions regarding Tehran's nuclear program, according to statements attributed to President Trump.
While details remain limited, officials indicated that progress was made and plans are in place for further dialogue.
U.S. stock markets experienced a significant drop yesterday, with the Dow Jones Industrial Average falling at one point over 1,200 points.
Trump warned of a potential economic slowdown unless the central bank implements rate cuts.
The opinions expressed on this program are those of the host or guest and should not be interpreted as statement of fact. Independent fact-checking and corrections are encouraged.
We got a cup of coffee in here, please.
Every day is more, but oh, that's fine. What did your face go? Okay. I don't know.
Damn good coffee and hot.
I wish I knew what buttons to push.
My dog is your mind's best friend.
Doesn't feel like the right button.
My dog is your mind's best friend.
Wake up, America. You've got a dog that needs walking. That's right, sunshine. Just put on a big pot of strong coffee and get ready to type your little hate mail with your opinions about kumbaya and flat earth insanity. Stand-up comedy? You want stand-up comedy? Well, we've got sit-down comedy. It's time for Coffee with the Dog. You make me laugh.
Just checking which buttons have been pushed and which buttons need to be pushed while I contemplate pulling the plug. After you push the button. Why? Good morning. Is that going to loop? Because if that's going to loop, I will push somebody's button right off the cliff here. Hey, it didn't loop. Good day. All right. Good morning. It's Tuesday. Are you excited? Are you happy? What are you? It's Easter Tuesday. It's going to be Easter until Christmas. I decided that. Last night we had Easter dinner. Yeah, Monday night. Easter dinner with the family. You know why? Because on Sunday, nobody was here. And tonight, all of a sudden, I got a paint party to do 1,000 miles away. They got to, get me a plane. Get me a private jet and hotels everywhere I want to go. That's what they got to do. I have a paint party 1,000 miles away. 1,000 miles away. I don't know. And I would paint 1,000 miles or something. GD did that at Governor's, and it fucked me up because I had 1,000-mile drive home, and all right. Today we have two authors. The first is a cyberpunk author who's deliciously gorgeous, and I'm not going to want to talk about her book. I'm just going to want to talk about how pretty she is, and how if I were a young man, I would be cyberpunking her all the way to kindness and empathy. We're going to talk about kindness and empathy today because both of these books are about that. The first book is a cyberpunk, first author, a cyberpunk novel. Look, his lips are moving, but nothing's coming out except spit. And it's about a world where kindness and empathy no longer exist. And then our second hour, we have a hospice doctor. He has a book out called Comfortologist, and it's all about providing empathy and and comfort for people like me who would just refuse to die even though they're dying. I'm not refusing to die like consciously. I'm just my body just refuses. It keeps waking up, which is not what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to not wake up ever again. Anyway, today is about kindness and empathy and all that kind of stuff. So on that note, we are not going to call Steven a cocksucking motherfucking shithole, button pushing pricks, pedophile, joke thief, homewrecker. We are not going to say that about Steven. So just keep that in mind. Once again, one of us has been slacking on commercial production. So you're going to hear the same friggin' commercials that you've always heard, and you don't you don't patronize. I wanted to say buy and patronize, and it came out pie, because I would like a slice of pie. Anybody got any pie? So, maybe I should just lay down and have them throw dirt on me as if I were dead, and I would accomplish the same thing. In the meantime, I want to push this button. Do I want to push this button? I want to push your buttons, don't I?
With humble East Coast beginnings in 2015, Daily High Club is the premier destination for glass water pipes, vaporizers, and consumption accessories. If you're looking to elevate your smoking game to the next level, you're in the right place. With over 1 million top-quality smoking products sold, and with a growing base of over 10,000 monthly subscribers worldwide, we deliver the ultimate smoking experience. But Daily High Club is not just a retailer, we're lovers of the smoking scene ourselves, working with giants like Tommy Chong, Snoop Dogg, Chanel West Coast, and more. Ready to join the Daily High Club? Let our experts curate your collection with our awesome El Primo monthly subscription box, or grab one of our fun and unique pieces from our smoke shop. Click the link in the description below this video to get this party started now.
Carl Mann is alive. Carl Mann is alive, and the new phone book's here. Ladies and gentlemen, in the room with me now. I don't like this lineup. And somebody pushed a button. I'm not going to say who, because I had this background, and it got unbackgrounded. Anyway, in the room with me now are Steven, the I'm not a cock-sucking butthole, stink shit, whatever, pedophile joke thief. He's not that. Ortiz.
Correct.
And, my best friend of the last 37 seconds, GD Fenderson. Good morning, GD.
Good morning.
A button pusher with you. I'm sorry.
Good morning, America. MindDogTV.com. Are you looking for empathy in a world full of apathy? Who cares?
I get it. That's so fucking funny. In a mean way.
That was pretty good, you grumpy old fool. I love it so much. Good morning, guys.
What's that noise? Oh, it's Steven.
Oh.
I'm not a butthole, stink fuck, whatever. Him. Let me tell you what happened here. Can I tell you what happened?
Tell us what happened.
Tom Homan is bragging about a massive $870,000 worth of cocaine that has just been seized at the border. Massive $870,000. That's a good weekend at Don Jr.'s house. That is
they didn't do when there's a successful bust, the dollar amounts are like in the millions, and the hundreds of thousands, it's like thousands of pounds.
Yeah.
Okay. Saying it's $876,000 worth with a tariff on it. First of all, you got to knock off the tariff.
Right.
Okay, what is like a 25% tariff coming out of Mexico or something?
At least.
So you take off the tariff. So now you're down to 600,000. That's an 8-ball.
I know. Well, it's 25 packages, but still 25 pack. That doesn't a brag about. We do that every day in Suffolk County, New York. Anyway.
Yeah, that's like a Diddy party. I've seen more drugs than that back in my day, and that was in the 70s. That was when money was real money.
Speaking of Diddy parties, are you aware of Kanye's little outburst yesterday?
No, I was busy cutting trees.
So Kanye, first of all, he said he was busy sucking his cousin's dick for about 6 months. I don't know why he felt obligated to reveal his. He was a young person when his cousin made him suck his dick for 6 months every day. But then he said he's changing the name of his new album to Cuck. This person has some mental challenges. He needs to get some help. And nobody is saying, you know what, intervention time, Kanye. You're just too crazy.
I don't know. So you just said it. So you can't say nobody. Well, you can say nobody.
Nobody who has access to him. Nobody who will listen to. Nobody who can get in front.
You don't have access to him. I thought you and Kanye were like really close before the election.
Well, when I was in a concentration camp and he was dancing with the Nazis, were laughing at me. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So anyway, I don't know. It's just like the world's gone mad, and here I am. Speaking, you know what? I guess it's good that we have an author who was a cyberpunk author on in the first hour, because that is about the world gone mad. And I've been saying this for a long time. You know, you've heard me say it a long time. I think we have an empathy crisis. The world, love and kindness, and all this. We live in a cruel society, and it's getting crueler and crueler and crueler, and crazier and crazier. And
I don't know. It could be the constant mental anguish I'm in on this show, but I think the world's full of empathy.
Is GD being mean to you? Because I will smack him.
No, I'm upset because I'm just finding out that Abigail Turner got fired as a sidekick. I'm just finding that out. I'm like, yeah. I'm literally.
What does that mean?
I just found that out like 6 minutes ago that San Harbor fired Abigail as a sidekick. Okay, I didn't know sidekicks could even get fired.
Is GD having a stroke?
I think he did. Maybe he's taking too much Mind Bloom this morning.
What? No, this is a serious crisis. I mean, I thought that should have been all over the papers. We're talking about all the federal workers that lost their jobs from Doge and stuff like that, but nobody mentioned to me that.
Wait, you're telling me there's an opening for a sidekick?
Well, I don't know.
I hate to lose you, but
you have to be able to kick to be a sidekick.
Yeah, you didn't forget about you. Oh. You got to add non-walking to that whole shtick about whatever you do. But you know, there's an offer. I don't want to keep you here if it pays more money. I mean, I want to see you advance your career, GD. So, if there's an opening for a sidekick,
I may be too old to be a sidekick. I've never seen a sidekick my age anywhere.
No, you're a front kick, definitely. You would definitely.
Or mule kick to the face.
Back kick. I told you about the mule kick, didn't I?
I think you did.
Well, at least it looks I'm not going to say it now.
Because I remember I asked you what happened to your face, and you were starting to tell me about the mule that kicked. But
what did happen to my face? Anybody see my face? I haven't seen my face.
Like shaved tequila.
Before we get too far, I have to, on behalf of my wife, say happy birthday to her favorite cat, her favorite person in the house, Elsie. Happy birthday, Elsie.
How do you keep track of a cat's birthday? Were you there when the cat was born? Does the cat have a birth certificate?
Well, in this case, no. We found her in the woods on Earth Day, and so that became her birthday.
So you celebrated Earth Day by taking a wild animal out of the wilderness?
She was not meant to be wild. She was meant to. Somebody used to have her because she was fixed when we took her into the vet to get her checked out.
All right.
So she was just starving in the woods, and
cats can go feral. I got into a big argument with the guy because we had kittens that we picked up, and I said, you know, anybody want kitten? Oh, we can't take a feral cat. You can never domesticate them. And it was like, you don't know anything about cats if that's what you think. Cats can go both ways, and back and forth. They can go domesticated, feral, domesticated again, feral again. They're very versatile. They're like,
you know, my ancestors found a bunch of people starving in the woods in Africa, and they brought them home too.
And I thank them every day.
I apologize.
Every day in every way, I thank them.
Listen, if you're in another country, I don't apologize to you. And we want to say, speaking of apologies, Dan Schreiber, I would like to apologize on behalf of Mrs. Fenderson for the abuse that apparently I didn't even know you took yesterday.
I would like to apologize to absolutely fucking nobody. That dude was so scared of his own penis statue. It was hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, why would you have? I'm not promoting having ballot-shaped statues.
Yes, you are. But anyways,
I'm not. Well, no, I'm neutral. My position is neutral.
Well, basically, you want
But what I'm
more to
saying is,
market.
if you have such a device or such a thing in your home and you're ashamed of it, don't put it on a nationally aired broadcast. Don't do that.
All right.
It's just stupid. I don't have the things that I'm ashamed of. You're not going to find out about.
My
Nobody's
favorite.
going to find out that I'm friends with Stephen Ortiz because I'm ashamed. I'm not going to put that out there.
That's true. But look,
what
the dude when I brought up that you were a stripper, his first question was, "Are you sure?"
Can we come back
And
to
then
that?
And then he got so uncomfortable with all the gay that he started squirming so bad.
Ick! We'll come back to that later. We're past the time we have to say hello to our first guest.
My bad.
And because I've been waiting in the cafe for her to show up since 8:00 this morning, because this is what I do when now Jordan S. Keller, who I apologize, I originally spelled her name wrong. It was O-N instead of A-N. Jordan S. Keller. She's got an upcoming novel, Failing Gravity. Jesus, I can't read. Failing Gravity, which releases May 6th. Cinco de Seis. It's a cyberpunk love letter to the album The Death of Peace of Mind. It's a story about kindness and friendship in a world that knows neither. And she's here now. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome in Jordan S. Keller. Good morning, Jordan. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure to have you. You know why? Because you're a beautiful young woman, and we like to have beautiful young women on this program.
Well, I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much.
Okay. Cyberpunk and a world without kindness and stuff. I think that's not so much futuristic. I think that's kind of present day, isn't it?
Unfortunately, yeah. I feel like our world's lacking a lot of empathy and sympathy for our neighbors, our friends, our family. Everyone's just kind of so focused on their own right now. It's hard to see that empathy throughout our towns.
Do you have any solutions, any answers, any hope?
I always try to hold on to hope.
You have to buy the book.
You have to buy the book. The answer's inside.
Okay. Well, speaking of the book, let me put the link to the book while I might put my brain together. Guys, say hello to the lovely Jordan S. Keller. Jordan, you're making this show look very good. Stop being so pretty.
I'll try. I'll rub some ugly on.
All right. That's the link to the book, and let me show the cover of the book. Now, how long have you? This is not your first book, right?
Nope. This is my first standalone novel, but I did just complete a 3-book series. It's a superhero love story, and the 3rd book in that series just came out in October, and that started in like 2022 when those books were releasing.
So you started publishing when you were like 7?
No, I was 26 when my first book came out.
Oh my God, you look! I swear, I don't know if this is a compliment. I don't know if it's an insult. You never know when you talk about people's age. But I would swear you're like 21 years old now.
Well, thank you. I mean, I just turned 31 a couple weeks ago. I still get carded at all the bars. I like to say it's all the moisturizer I use, but
all the bars.
Every bar I go to.
Oh, because it sounds like that. All the bars. I'm a slush. I'm a lush. I can't pass a bar without either writing a book or having a drink.
I mean, I feel like they do go hand in hand.
Wow.
PD, she's only been here for 30 seconds. Don't call her a drunk right away. Jeez.
I didn't call her a drunk. I said lush. I didn't say drunk. and I didn't call her that.
He's not black. He's dark. I didn't call him black though.
You see what? You see why we don't like you, Steven? Do you see why we don't like you? I mean, I don't mean to be unkind or unfriendly. I take that back. This is the day where it's all about compassion and friendliness. Both our guests are trying to teach us something.
I don't know if you know this about me, but I have no empathy or kindness.
I don't believe that.
So, writing has been your passion for your life. Did you? Was this your intent from a young age to grow up and be a cyberpunk writer?
Not so much a cyberpunk writer, but I've always loved writing and storytelling. And when I went to college, so in like elementary and middle school, I'd always write in notebooks and stuff. I'd skip out on recess to hide out in the library and write about knights and dragons. And when I decided to go into college, I realized that being an author probably wouldn't give me enough money to live comfortably. I'm a type 1 diabetic, and insulin is expensive. So I went into like a chemistry field, and I almost flunked out, and I went back to writing as a journalist and fell in love with radio and print and newspaper, and got to meet all these incredible people in Eastern Kentucky. We talked about traditional music, we talked about farming, we talked about sorghum making, and that rekindled my love for storytelling. And when I got out of college, I started working at a property management company because no one was hiring new journalists, unfortunately. And I went back into fiction writing in my evenings and during my lunch break. And it was the pandemic, when we had all this additional time on our hands, that I finished my first novel, Wildfire, which is that superhero novel. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I wrote a novel. I can't believe it. And I felt like I owed it to myself and to my main hero, Abigail, to try to get it published. And that was about a year long, or probably a 2-year long journey, getting the book all polished up, getting a query letter, marketing myself to agents and publishers, and then landing our deals to get the trilogy published.
Wow. It caught my attention right away. You said that you realized that, I don't know, I'm paraphrasing, that authorship wasn't going to pay the bills.
Yeah.
It's kind of, I think we've definitely run into some people who have made it work somehow in a very short time. We had a guy on who was in the game for 5 years and traditionally published and getting advances. And I'm like,
oh my gosh.
I know. That's what I said. Like,
Yeah.
come on, are you lying to me, or is this it's just like a fairy tale? Because a lot of people would like to know how you make that happen.
Yeah. I would love to know too.
Yeah.
I have a question for you real quick, Jordan. You said you went to college and you studied chemistry. Was that so that you could learn to make your own insulin?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking when I heard that.
No, that's awesome though. I always loved chemistry in high school, and I thought like, oh my gosh, I'll just make that my major. And where I went to school at, our graduating class had 86 people. It was very like small town farm school, and I loved it. But the level of chemistry we were learning there was nowhere near the level of chemistry I needed to know in college. And so I just really struggled and figured out the reason I loved chemistry in high school was because of the professor, and not so much the topic of it and everything that was involved with what made chemistry.
Oh, okay. I was just wondering because you said you loved it, and then but it's just okay. I understand now. I
should have went in trying to make insulin.
He's also a diabetic and shoots up daily, and he was probably looking for a cheap.
Actually, I'm a diabetic. I do not shoot up. I am treating it with exercise and diet.
Oh, nice.
I seen you shoot up. You just shoot.
That was not for
heroin. That's not insulin.
I'm sorry.
Two different things.
I was confused.
I am proud to be off of both the meds for my diabetes. So don't be mocking me with using my
I wasn't mocking you. I'm sorry.
Back off, Matt.
Listen, I'm trying to be empathetic and kind today because this is what I have to do.
Jordan, I love all of the superheroes.
Why would you try to be empathetic? That would be like salt. That would be like sugar trying to be a mineral. Sugar is not a mineral, okay? You can't be sugar. You can't be salt. Be what you are.
We got him going.
I almost feel like that's like abuse, but kindness at the same time. Abuse, a kind abuse is what that was.
So Jordan, who is your biggest superhero influence? I see Supergirl behind you.
It's Abigail. Why are you even asking that? Don't you pay attention to anything she's saying?
I heard was obviously her own creation's probably the closest thing to her heart, but I mean, like, what was the one that made her get to that point of making her own?
Dick Grayson was the hero that did it for me. I grew up watching Teen Titans on Cartoon Network, and then in college I was introduced to Young Justice. I'm like, this is going to be my entire personality.
We're almost the same age. I'm currently watching Young Justice again and Justice League Unlimited right now.
So good.
Don't be hitting on my date.
We can all watch it together.
All right.
But yeah,
I'm bringing the Pope.
We're sitting at a table here, enjoying coffee, getting to know each other, and then all of a sudden, button pushing boy comes over and like, hey. Now, not to be a depressing person, but I am a depressing person. That you wrote this book to get to deal with grief. Is that accurate?
Yeah. At the time of writing, I didn't realize what I was doing, but looking back, it's very clear. Unfortunately, my father passed away in a car accident 2 years ago, just when I started drafting the story. And this was like the first major loss I had to deal with, and I had no idea how to deal with it. And so I whenever I got sad, or whenever we'd have to like discuss the will or discuss funeral arrangements, I would go to this world. I would write this main character just to escape it. And looking back, I realized I wrote the main character very aggressive and mean and ruthless because that's who I thought I needed to become to get over this grief, to not let it destroy me. And then throughout the novel, our main character discovers, just as I discovered, that it's okay to lean on our friends. It's okay to care about people. It's okay to still show love for people, even though you might have to lose them one day.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you thought you needed to become me, which is interesting. But I will validate what you just said, even though I am all those mean things that you just talked about. I definitely feel pain, and I have a lot of empathy for people, and deal with grief and all that kind of stuff. So you can straddle both worlds. You can be this, I don't know, maybe the meanness and the outward projection is just that. It's a mask to cover up all the pain.
Yeah. Like
Did
I
it?
was. Oh, sorry.
Did the book actually help you with dealing with that grief?
It did, especially once like we were moving forward through the editing of the book, and I was going through my final edits before my publisher took it to like get formatted, and I was reading through everything. I'm like, oh my gosh, like this was me. I was Roman at this time, and the moment he realized it was okay to show his feelings for people was the same time I started going to therapy and learning that it's okay to love people, knowing that you might lose them at some point. And so just kind of matching that timeline up felt like I was solving a mystery.
That's a great message. See, a couple of days ago, maybe over the weekend, I did a short reel, and it was on the power of creativity and art, and whatever your creativity is in healing and art therapy and all that kind of stuff. I think if you want to make the world a more empathetic, a more kinder place, get more people doing things that are positive, and painting, writing music, writing books, comedy, whatever your creative outlet is. I think there is some self-healing in that. More people need to know about that.
And just to be able to figure out what you need through your creation, for me, it gave me the freedom and like the guilt-freeness to explore what I needed to heal from this, and how I could come out the other side of it, and return to that happy person I usually am.
Right. How far in the future is this book set?
It is set after the volcano underneath Yellowstone explodes. So hopefully
next week.
Hopefully super, super far.
Yeah.
But probably like 50, 80 years into the future, with like technology wise.
Wow. So you and Steven will still be alive then.
Gosh, I hope not when that volcano goes.
Well, you know what? The other
that doesn't sound fun.
I saw a reel about the Milky Way and Andromeda coming together in 4.5 billion years, and I'm thinking, I can't wait.
It'll make a very pretty sky, I bet.
Well, to be fair, it's only 2.3 billion years since he graduated high school, so it's not that far away.
We're halfway there.
It's the scientists who were delivering this whole presentation said it will change our night sky dramatically. Like, I'll change our night sky dramatically. We won't be here.
We might not even have a sky.
That's hard to wrap my head around. So, the science fiction part of this and the futuristic part of it, is that something you study and have to do a lot of research for, or you just let your imagination drive and not really care about the accuracy of the science and predictions that you're making?
A little A, little B. In the first draft, I just let it run wild, and then what I like to do between my first draft and my second draft is to consume a lot of media that kind of makes sense for my world. And so I played I played Cyberpunk. I watched Edge Runners. I read a bunch of other science fiction novels and started picking pieces that made sense that I could sort of use to better explain elements of my world. But what I really like about science fiction is, as long as you sound like you know what you're talking about, people shouldn't question your laser guns and your portals and your.
So you're a taller Joe Rogan with hair.
Maybe.
You mentioned the first draft. Are you first of all, are you married? You're in a relationship?
I'm married.
You are. Is your husband your first first person to kind of read the drafts as you're going along? Do you kind of get
He's
feedback?
actually never read any of my books. We'll go to dinner a lot, and he'll help me work through like plot holes and like character concerns. But when I was first writing Wildfire, my first superhero novel, I asked him to read it, and he's like, "I'm not going to read it till you publish it." And people thought that was so mean of him. But I thrive on spite, and that was the biggest motivation for me to keep going, keep persevering. Because when you try to publish a novel traditionally, you get told no a lot. And I just kept fighting through it. Like, I'm going to find someone, I'm going to make it better, I'm going to get it published. And he still has not read them.
Being born with a face like this prepares you for getting told no a lot.
No.
So you could have gone this way. But I'm curious now. Do you have anybody that you kind of, because when I have not published either book yet, and people are still saying, "Well, I don't think you really wrote a book," but I would send stuff off to my confidant, even before I finished the chapter. Like, read this. Is it okay? Is it okay? I need feedback all along the way. Do you have somebody like that, or do you?
Yeah, I'm a founder of the Queen City Fiction Writers Critique Group. There's 10 of us. We meet every other week. We've been getting together since 2017. They've read every beginning chapter of all my novels. We do workshops together. We actually just got back from a writing retreat yesterday where we spent the whole weekend together writing and drinking and just hanging out, making stories. So they're my confidant. They're my cheerleaders. They help me every step of the way to make sure my novel makes sense, my grammar's correct. I'm a horrible speller, and so they catch all my little flaws.
Now, are they part of your Everyday Writers podcast, or is
One of them is Crystal
okay?
McQueen. She's in that writing group, and then she and I do the podcast together.
I have to admit, I'm very surprised right now that CD went to the podcast question when he heard you say writing and drinking, and he didn't go back to calling you a lush.
I never denied that I wasn't.
Called her a lush. I was asking. See, you guys.
Whatever.
Yeah, go to the tape.
All right.
Play the tapes.
I think we burned the tape just in case. There was some,
and like what's his face? John Beavers claims that he misunderstood what I was saying. I wasn't suggesting that Jordan get off of her insulin. I was asking if she was making her own. That's why she went to college. It had nothing to do with
If she could make her own, she wouldn't be a type 1 diabetic.
She can't do that, GD. She would die.
Right, and I wasn't suggesting that she not do it. I was asking if she was there to learn to make her own, kind of like Breaking Bad. I thought that was going to be like her Breaking Bad moment. She develops her own insulin, and then she starts selling it on the street, the little blue version of insulin out there. And
sorry, Jordan, it's almost their nap time.
Yeah.
No, I'm thinking this would be a great novel idea. Black market insulin.
Now, have you done many of these interviews? So, I'm assuming you're self-published, right?
I'm traditionally published. I've got an agent and a publisher. And yeah.
Why?
Back when I was publishing, I was under the wrong mindset that if you're not published traditionally, you're not really published. And I have since met so many incredible self-published authors that I never would have thought that they weren't traditionally published. And I'm so glad now that that stigma around self-publishing is starting to evaporate and leave.
I think it did a long time, or even before I started interviewing authors several years ago. It's just, I think it's probably better because I think you probably know this because you're obviously active in promoting yourself and doing the marketing work. They don't do anything for you that the self-publishing you would have to do anyway, the same stuff, and they just keep a bigger portion of it. And this is a problem. But in your efforts to market the book and tell people about it, which comes out on May 6th, but can they pre-order now?
They can. Yep. Pre-order link is up through Amazon and Barnes & Noble. You can either get the paperback or ebook edition.
Okay. Have you done many of these type of interviews?
Just a handful right now. I think you guys are the 4th or 5th for this book.
We by far the
Why
worst.
did you come to us first? No, man, I'm hurt now. I'm hurt. Why did you come to us first? After all we've been together.
I wanted to make sure I got all of my jitters out before I talk to you guys.
Yeah, best fast GDGs.
Let me just say, I reached out to her, and I believe she asked. I'm not sure if I remember this correctly, but I believe she asked which show I wanted her to be on, whether the evening or the morning show. And I said the morning show just so she could meet you two idiots.
Aw, that's so nice. And
you couldn't
also,
invite us to the evening show?
No.
No, that's sacred.
I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. My cat is.
I wondered what you've been doing this whole time. He's like fighting his cat over there. Like, what's happening?
Well, she's going feral.
It was a feral cat. Then it wants to be feral again. Didn't you listen this morning? It's his birthday.
She never. I was going to say she never does this. She does not come in here and bite me and drag me off into the other room. I thought something was going on out there. Usually she comes to get me if something is going on out there that I need to be concerned with, like animals on the porch or her food dishes empty. I'm walking around the house.
Timmy fell in a well.
Right. I'm walking around the house. She shows me. She walks me to the closet. I open the closet door. She doesn't want to go in the closet. She takes me to her food dish. There's already food in it. She takes me to the door. I open the door. She doesn't want to go out, and there's nothing outside threatening the house. She takes me to the living room, and all of her snacks are full. I don't know what she wants. You know,
maybe she just wants love. Do you ever think of that? Maybe she just wants some cuddles.
I don't have time for that right now. She knows I don't give. She knows I don't give loving until afternoon, after 12.
To the show, there was a show here. It's 9:35 a.m. Eastern time. You are tuning into GD's Cat, a brand new radio show, which is all about GD's Cat.
The life of the party.
Yeah. Failing.
I want to talk about Ashley. How did she? It says misconduct. What did she do to lose her job as a sidekick? I didn't think people could get fired from sidekicking. I honestly didn't.
So the book Wildfire, it's set in a world where superheroes exist, but they're all owned by giant corporations, and like I wanted to make it super like bureaucracy, and like you have to go through all these hoops and regulations, and like half of the superhero's job is good media presence and keeping their social standings high. And so the book opens with Abigail. She's a sidekick. She's always wanted to be a hero, but you have to do a preliminary sidekick position. And there's a villain from her past that comes on the scene, and she's like, I have to catch this guy. He's the one who got away. I've got to get him. And during their chase through the city, they both have fire powers, and so they were burning cars, they were breaking windows, they were causing all this property damage. And that backfired on the company she worked for with bad media reporting, a bunch of damages. Their lawyers had to get involved. And so her contract for her to be hired on for the company was to make them look better, because their main hero was kind of gruff and grumpy, and she was going to be like the sunshine comparison. And so since their numbers plummeted because of her actions, she got axed.
You know, when you said catch the sky, it sounded like you said crack the sky. And I saw get very excited because that's his favorite band.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Jordan and I are both too young to understand what crack the sky means. But that fight sounds a lot like when Starfire and Blackfire were flying through,
yeah. I want to find the limb that will hold you. That's what I want to find. Is there a limb that could hold you?
No, is there a tree low enough that he can climb to get out on that limb?
Oh, hold on. First of all, I am a very, very good tree climber, first of all. Second of all, never mind that joke.
How do you climb trees without the use of your legs? It doesn't count if you're climbing a family tree. That doesn't count. Okay.
First of all, gross and disrespectful.
Or dentistry or artistry. Those trees don't count. Anybody can climb those trees.
Did you say dentistry?
Dentistry. Okay. Yeah, dentistry and artistry. Those trees. He can climb those trees, sure.
The ghost of something, Corral. I don't even.
Ghost of Geraltus.
Yeah, all owned by giant corporations sounds more like nonfiction and science fiction. It does. A lot of the parts of a lot of the elements here that went into your writing do feel like it's more present day and reality than fiction.
I think those just come apart subconsciously just because of the world we're in and how everything's shoved down our face every day, whether you're opening up an app, opening a newspaper. And so I think it's more difficult not to include them than them just coming through naturally through the writing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it seems like every franchise or every hero franchise has a version where their heroes are owned by, or some of the heroes are owned by corporations. It's like, I know DC has it with Stag Corporation. Mm-hmm. Then there's the Boys.
Yeah.
Theirs is Vought. Marvel has their version, and also even with the Watchmen. Although the Watchmen, theirs aren't corporate, theirs are run by the government until the government doesn't need them anymore.
I just felt like if America had superheroes, we wouldn't have them any other way. They'd be celebrities. They'd have their own reality stars. They would be owned by these corporations.
I feel like the Boys pretty much got it right. Yeah.
Oh. I thought I
heard Matt is like, I don't know what you're talking about. I have no idea.
I'm surprised that Stephen called us the Boys. That's a little insensitive. I mean, for me, I could deal with it, but GD kind of doesn't like that word.
Talking about GD's been my boy. He's been my boy since day one ish. What are you talking about?
What?
We are tuning into the racist cat racism or something in the morning with.
Yeah, Jordan, I apologize. See, the funny thing is, Stephen comes from a culture of where Black people were still 3/5 of a person. It's not his viewpoint. He thinks we're worth 7/10 of a person now. But his family, he actually comes from descendants of the clan, like Grand Dragons. And although you were a Dungeons and Dragons fan,
I am.
I'm not comparing that to the Clan Dragon.
I prefer the Dungeons and Dragons over the Grand Dragons.
Grand Dragons and whatever.
But I do have to ask, because Dungeons and Dragons, that world is known for being young men who've never seen a woman playing games in their mother's basement. But okay, that's the only woman they've seen. But outside of that, so how was it for you being a young lady and even an attractive young lady that is involved in a game where the guys are just aching to meet a woman in the flesh?
Thankfully, I've always grown up kind of nerdy, and I've always been in these spaces with guys who haven't really talked to women before, and they've always been the best people I've ever met. And so when I got into college and started like seeing Dungeons and Dragons in the wild, I got invited to play a game at our local comic shop in Moorhead, Kentucky. And then I got hooked. Like I had never had a more fun experience than playing a character every Wednesday night. And so that game ended, a new game started. That game ended, a new game started. And I played in a 2.5-year game weekly, and my character, her name was Alpha in the game, and she was super brash and like a barbarian. And when the game ended, I wasn't ready to let her go, because in my mind, she was everything I wanted to be. She was strong, she was independent, and I had moved away from my college town and moved away from my friends, and so I would just write this character in different situations with the other characters to try to keep all this friendship together that I felt like we were losing. She was in the Wild West, she was in a Hallmark rom-com, she was in a spaceship, and then she was a superhero, and the superhero world fit her so well that she turned into Abigail. She turned into this novel. And so she's still brave, independent, outspoken, but instead of the barbarian with a very low intelligence score, I bumped that up in the book.
Now, I have a question about Abigail then, because I keep wanting to call her Ashley because of the fire powers. I keep thinking fire powers, Ashley. Yeah. You know, because everything she does, she just turns it all to ash, and that's what I just kept thinking. And I'm just
so good.
But it's too late to change her name now unless she goes into witness protection.
That's why earlier you were saying Ashley lost her job as a sidekick.
Right, because
Ashley. I don't know.
It's Abigail, but in my mind, her name should have been Ashley in my brain, but that's just the way my brain works.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. Be that way. Now, Abigail. I don't know. Are you old enough to have ever seen the original Superman television series?
Bits and pieces of episodes. Our library in college had like season 4 on DVD we could rent. And
no, when he means the original series, he means back the old, right, back when they were little snippets at the end of the movie. Back in,
he doesn't mean that. You were right on that. Okay. They're just making fun of the fact that I was born before
those are the original ones.
Yes,
like 5-minute serials at the end of a movie, and like Superman and Darkman and Rocket Man.
DD's gonna lose his job as a sidekick any second now. A psychic sidekick. The reason I brought that up is because it was so ridiculous to me that Clark Kent would put on a pair of glasses and nobody would tell that's Superman.
Mhm.
Abigail,
it's the perfect disguise.
No one knows.
Abigail seems to have like a Lone Ranger mask that she kind of
Yep.
disguise. Is that, do people not know it's the same person?
They don't. I mean, I'm sure some crazy fan has figured it out, but they don't.
Now, my question is more scientific because where did she find a flame retardant mask that didn't cause cancer? Because almost every flame retardant material we know causes cancer, and this is like right around her eyes. You know, where she'd have in any other world she'd have eye cancer.
We'll just say she works for the Hero Relief Center. We'll just say their costume experts have cracked the code on it.
Okay.
There's some sort of film on it, or
Ghost.
I've always
Ghost has a question for her. Oh, Stephen wanted to talk, but we don't let him. Question for Ms. Keller. I like that. She's Mrs., right? But whatever. Her work is described as cyberpunk, but some of the decisions she's making sounds like solar punk or hope punk. Does that align with those subgenres? I didn't even know there was. Is that just a joke? There's no subgenres. Hope punk.
I've never heard of hope punk, but I have heard of solar punk. The Wildfire series, Ashes Over Avalon, those aren't cyberpunk. Those are more your standard superhero science fiction. I would love to stick Failing Gravity into a hope punk subgenre, because that just feels like the message I'm pushing with the book is to retain that hopefulness, retain that light within yourself when it seems darkest. Yeah.
Now, when you finish a book, do you feel a sense of sadness? Like that was my thing. Now what do? I got to start all over.
It was the way I talked about Roman, the main character in Failing Gravity. People had said, like, it sounds like you're talking about a boyfriend, or like it's like an ex-boyfriend who you broke up with. I'm like, it kind of did feel that way. I was so entangled with him in this world, and just I latched onto him so tightly through that grief. And so when the book ended and I started writing a new project, I felt so cold on the inside, like nothing's going to be as great as Failing Gravity. Nothing's going to matter as much. And I have since proven myself otherwise. The project I'm working with right now.
Looks like we sold the book. Sold the book.
Thank you so much, Ghost.
Yeah, Ghost of Geritol. Is that it? Ghost of Geritol.
Geritol. I could use a little Geritol, actually. I don't know what that does for you. They've been advertising that for old people my entire life since I was a young person, and I have no idea what it's supposed to do for you. That make you die faster.
Oh, I feel like Jordan, you need to write a book about somebody who makes the superhero costumes, because I feel like that's a whole untapped world that nobody talks about. Because in
the Impossibles, right?
The Incredibles.
The Incredibles.
Yeah.
She is like I can't remember her name. The glasses and and she is
Okay, see, that's the thing. I could watch a whole movie just with her, though, is what I'm saying. Like her, and then the guy in Invincible that makes their costumes. Like, I feel like they have such a crazy cool backstory. How do you figure out how to make indestructible costumes? You tell me. You don't learn that shit in Vogue. Anyway, back to you, Matt.
I think you learned that in chemistry in high school.
Yeah.
I think you learn it. Working for Beyonce, because you'd be like, someone that hot. How do you put a costume on someone that hot and it doesn't burn up? And so it's like, okay, we'll take Beyonce's costume and we'll put it on a Human Torch and see if it works. And then all of a sudden, the Human Torch is wearing like this little teddy out there fighting crime. And he's like, yeah. All of the boys coming, all the single boys.
Oh my goodness.
Careful, you're going to throw your back out again, Gene.
Someday I often perform in mental institutions, and some days I feel like by the time I get there, it's a lot more sane than being with these two guys. But coming back to this whole idea of feeling, I don't know, a sense of sadness when you end a book, do you realize that the reader goes through that same thing, but they don't have they have to wait for you to finish your next thing in order to get off of that feeling? You leave them hanging in a feeling of desperation and I miss Robert. Do you understand that?
So when I sold Wildfire to my publisher, it was sold as a 3-book deal. So which was I never expected that to happen. And book 2 ends pretty cliffhangery. And when people were reading it and reaching out to me, it was so difficult not to tell them, like, don't worry, XYZ is going to happen in the third book. You just got to wait. And so it was the longest secret I kept for like the year, 13 months between the two books releasing. And once people started reading it, we could finally talk about it. But yeah,
Ghost is a very inquisitive person here, and I appreciate that you want to get the book, and we want to help you get the book. Question: should I go through Amazon, or does Ms. Keller sell via a private house distributor? You should go to her website, which is scrolling across the bottom there, and she has a link to exactly where she wants you to get the book from, or pre-order the book from, and the link's in the description.
But if Ghost does want to get a signed copy, he can or they can reach out to me directly. I can take down their information. We can do a Venmo, Zelle, PayPal payment. I can sign it and ship it to them.
Oh, very good. Thank you for doing that, and appreciate that offer. And it's very cool. Now, do you have a lot of interaction with your readers? Do you? I know you have a writing group where you interact with writers. Do you have any kind of forum where you are constantly in contact with your readers, your loyal readers?
Not a dedicated forum, but I'm on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. And so if people want to reach out there, I love talking about the work. I love talking about superheroes. I've met a lot of hero fans through there, and we'll discuss characters. I had one gentleman help me figure out the best way to like describe a costume on some of the characters. So that was very helpful in the beginning.
Have you ever made yourself an Abigail costume and tried it on?
No, but people want me to. They want me to have one for when we do book signings.
Did your husband play Dungeons and Dragons when he was a youth?
Yeah, he was actually our dungeon master for a majority of all of our games.
See, the problem with the Abigail costume I have is I have to shave my mustache, and then everybody can see the mole, and they make fun of me.
Just ginger bend it.
The mustache is there just to hide the mole, and if
what you do is you draw a little eyes and face and mouth on the mole, and just let them say that's your id. You know, that's your id.
No, what I used to do was draw Michael Jordan holding the mole like he was dunking it.
And you open your mouth, he's going to dunk it, right?
Yeah. Jordan, now we mentioned the fact that you're traditionally published. The covers, I have to say, the covers are pretty stunning.
Yeah.
Are you involved in that? Do you work hand in hand with the artists, or you just let them do what their thing?
They do their thing. They send me a draft, and I can tell them like, oh, this doesn't really work, or like, oh, could we try this instead? But usually it is out of the park, gorgeous. You can't really see it. I've got a picture of Wildfire up there. And the initial cover, her hair was black, and Abigail has blonde hair. And so that was really the only change we made to that cover. But the rest are just as you see them. So my publisher house, Speaking Volumes, they take such great care of me. And they make these books look as amazing as they are on the inside.
Yeah, no, they definitely. I mean, I should have known you were traditionally published. I mean, not to bash people. This is the one problem where people who are self-published, they run up against wanting too much artistic control over all these things, and they're not necessarily marketing people or no coverage. And
exactly,
book cover. It's very cliche that you can't judge a book by its cover, but everybody does.
Yeah, and it was explained to me when they were making the covers for my books is so many people buy online that when you're scrolling through the listings, you need something that's like 1 inch by 2 inches that will catch them right away.
Yeah, it's like a YouTube thumbnail.
Yeah. Exactly. So
basically, so yeah, it's a challenge, and I'm glad, I guess, that you've gone the traditional route, because I underplayed how important that part of selling it is.
Especially for a young author, I had no idea like all the background information that was needed, like your like how to put the book together and like how to format it and get it to distributors, and so that's where the traditional publishing comes in play so well, and they deserve every penny they make off of me for like the royalty split and everything. And
oh yeah, I don't know, Ghost. Welcome to the program. You're very active in the chat room today, and we appreciate that. But I don't think Ghost, whether he or she, I don't know who that is new here or not. I have not seen you here before, but I think we covered this. That he's asking about, or she's asking about profit. Yes, it definitely cuts into your profit. Self-publishing, you keep all of it. It's
But
100%. So yeah, obviously,
but you don't have to pay for the cover art, the round of editing that they do, all the behind the scenes work. So none of that comes out of the author's pocket when you are traditionally published. Whereas if you go self-publish, you're paying for the edits, you're paying for your cover artist if you can't do the cover yourself. And so like for me, it felt like a good deal for a professional, someone in the know-how, someone who knows way more about this than I did at the time, for them to take those reins, and then I could kind of learn with them. So.
Thank you, Ryan. And real name is Ryan. The ghost is Ryan. Now you are still a very young person, even though you said that 3-word. That 3-word.
I'm still in denial.
But you have a long life to live, a long life ahead of you. Unlike Stephen, who is the same age and will probably be dead by the end of this week. But so just writing this kind of stuff, does it give you a sense of optimism or the opposite of that as you look towards the future? Oh, because it sounds like you're writing about bleak things, that worlds that we don't want to happen, and obviously a world that is lacking in kindness.
I hope she absolutely drowns you in positivity.
I know.
I'm about to, yeah.
Good.
Spoiler alert to all of my books. They all do end hopeful, happily, with like the sun on the horizon. And I subconsciously, like, I'm always looking at the sky. I'm always looking at sunsets and sunrises and just the lightness that can be found. And so I just want people, when they read my books, when they read any books, hopefully, no matter how dark, gruesome, gritty it can be, that there is a light at the end. There is a reason to keep going. You can find bits of peace and serenity within like the chaos of our world.
Wow. Sounds like you're a romance writer in disguise.
I've written a bunch of books that have never seen the light of day. I'm like, no one's gonna fall in love in this, and then by like chapter 5, someone's fallen in love. And
no, I don't hate love. I encourage love. I just think romance novels, it's just too much. It's like happily ever after. I can't.
They're very corny.
Yeah,
I enjoy them, but yeah, they're very corny.
Yeah, I had a guy on last week who writes romance novels. I'm like, that's odd. Usually romance novels are just the forte of women.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see a lot of guys falling for that happy ending stuff. I think he's probably trans. Now we're in trouble for racism, homophobia, and picking on a guy in a wheelchair. So we've covered all.
You know what?
Got all the basics.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh wait, hold on. We have not.
What?
No, I'm not going to say it. Never mind.
What were you going to say?
Nope.
It's too bad.
Be that way.
Nope. I'm not going to jinx it.
Yeah. Failing Gravity now. It doesn't. I have not read the book. It's not out yet. May 6th is when it comes out, but you can pre-order today. Is it what the name applies? Does gravity fail?
Yeah. So the main story, without spoiling it, the setting is we have this floating sky city called Ikaria, and it was created by all the wealthy and the smart people. And when the world was ending and this ash cloud covered everything and was starting to do all this acid rain, they built these floating cities to sit above the cloud cover so they could survive. But only the rich and powerful could get up there. But the cities created like an umbrella where, like, it's called the slums in the book, where these pocket civilizations started thriving. But the Ikaria, the Sky City, had no intention of this happening. So the city underneath, I'm sorry, they're the like super like they're thieves and crooks. They do robot fighting. They bootleg stardust, which is like moonshine, and the Sky City starts to fall because their gravity beams are failing.
Shit.
So that's the novel. And Roman, our main character, he's a robot fighter, and his new like BattleBot creation siphons energy from the stage, and it looks like it's like feeding off of gravity. So Ikaria thinks that Roman is somehow the reason for their gravity concerns, and so that's sort of how the book opens up. Is like
so flat earthers won't this book won't be for them because they don't believe in gravity in the first place. Gravity does not exist in the
Correct.
I don't know if you knew.
I didn't.
So the city is slowly falling, and if it won't like crash, it'll probably gently land and then get taken over by the earth. people.
Yep, and then so it's a constant acid rain is falling on the planet, and so as they start like drifting below the cloud cover, all this acidity is starting to tarnish the city. They have no idea how to survive in this kind of environment because they've got like air filters and weather protectors, and they grow all their food, and they have no idea the hardships that the rest of the world is facing.
Wow. But on the bright side, you can get off your weight loss drugs.
That's fair.
Jordan, I have a question. Do you know this Ghost of Geraltus?
I don't recognize the username.
Because you've got him all sorts of hot and bothered over there in the chat.
Oh, no.
He is just you had him at robot fighting.
That's what sold me too. Like I remember watching Real Steel and like I want Real Steel to be real so bad with Hugh Jackman and stuff. So
well, we are out of time.
I wanted Hugh Jackman to be real for some conversation.
Dude, Hugh Jackman's a sexy man. I'll tell you what, right now, man. I'm a straight.
He's not real. He's not real. He's not.
He's a cryptid. He's like Bigfoot.
Yeah,
he's real. At least in my mind, he's real. I swear to God.
I'll say to your face. He dances, he acts, and he has metal growing out of his knuckles. Yeah, he's
the complete package.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's not real.
Have I been let go of from the show?
Who are you?
What?
I thought I was fired there for a minute. I don't know. It seemed like one of you two guys took over, and that was it.
No, she didn't mention Hugh Jackman. I just want everybody to realize that he's not real. He's
lucky she didn't say Ryan Reynolds, or I'd be naked right now. So,
first of all, Ryan Reynolds can't sing
and
dance. Ryan Reynolds can't sing and dance.
Knock on wood.
He does some dancing. He does some dancing, but he can't. He's not classically trained like the AI version of Hugh Jackman.
Ryan Reynolds didn't even do the Backstreet Boys dance in the movie. Okay,
that wasn't him. Oh,
no.
Okay. Then I take it back. I wonder about that because you got the costume and it doesn't have to be him. You know,
he hired a real famous like YouTube dancer who's in really good shape, who looked good in the costume, and but it wasn't him. If you look in the credits, his name's Dance Pool.
I just want to say that our next guest has been in the green room listening to you two guys, and he's a person who is full of empathy. He's a hospice doctor, but you have turned him into like an evil version of Dr. Kevorkian. He's going to want to just put you two guys out of your misery the minute he comes here because you've been terrible, rude to him.
I'm sorry, Jordan. I just realized I've been taking up all your time, but let people know anything you want them to know about you real quick. And also, when your book comes out in May, please come back.
Yeah,
I would love to. Yeah. So, like we've mentioned, I'm Jordan S. Keller. I'm an author from Cincinnati, Ohio. My new book, Failing Gravity, releases May 6th. You can pre-order it now through
You didn't
Amazon
go that far to
Barnes
go to
Noble.
school, Moorhead State.
No, I was about an hour from where I grew up and 2 hours from where I am now. But yeah, follow me on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. I'd love to connect.
Yeah, and this one last question: are you a metalhead?
I'm a metalcore.
You don't look
girl.
like a metalhead. You look like a wholesome.
No, she looks. I'm gonna be honest. I got metal vibes from you the second your camera came on.
Where? What? Look at that hair, that dress.
Here's the thing.
Like
okay, I'm not trying to be like a weirdo or whatever. Okay,
you don't have to try.
That's true. I'm very adept at that. Now, no, it's a combination of the background, what you write about, and then what you're wearing. All of it combined.
All right, calm down there, Imus.
Yeah.
What are you wearing?
100%. No, I feel like. Yeah, I can see you. I can see you at a.
If I saw you walking down the street, I would think there's a Swiftie, honestly. And I'm sorry if that's an insult.
No, I enjoy her music, but I would much rather be in a mosh pit any day.
All right. Well, thank you for being here. And we do
called her a Swiftie.
And please do come back anytime. But especially when the book is out, and we want to help give it an extra boost and see a day when authors can actually live off the work that they produce. We definitely want to help with that. So please do come back.
And I'm going to check out your podcast because I'm in the middle of writing a book, and it's hard work.
How do you know you're in the middle?
How do I know it's in the middle?
How do you know you're in the middle?
I'm on chapter 3 of 19. That's how I know I'm in the middle.
That's not the middle.
All right. What?
If you
Somebody
have any
lied to
about
me.
books, please reach out. I'd love to help. Our podcast is designed to encourage people to finish their books, so it would be perfect.
Somebody lied to me. I thought it was halfway through. I was on chapter 3.
All right. JordanSKellerAuthor.com, folks. Go there and pre-order the book today. Jordan, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me. I
Have
really
a great
enjoyed
day.
it. You
Bye for
too.
now.
Bye.
Look, GD, I didn't cut her off in the middle of saying goodbye. How about that? How about a little credit?
You learned either you learned something new or you just couldn't bear to say goodbye. And that's why
I feel like it was the latter for sure.
What ladder? I don't see a ladder. What are you talking about? A ladder.
Anne says hi, everybody. I'm just getting around to seeing
She
this.
says hi to everybody?
Yeah.
That diminishes the hi that we get every day from her, because she does give us a little bit of a hi every day, right? But I wish you would just say hi to us and not to everybody.
Well, okay, technically, if I'm going to use the finger quotes, she said good morning.
Oh, good morning.
Okay.
So that's not hi. Anyway,
And
let's play some news, and then we're going to meet Dr. Stephen Draybeck, and we're going to talk about how I get into hospice, because I think I'm ready. Do you think I'm ready? Anyway.
I don't think we can keep you out of hospice.
All right. Yeah, that's a good point.
Those little places that you stay in when you go to another country, they're cheap hotels. Isn't that?
Oh, that's a hostel.
Look, my real
high school.
Hostel.
Alan Edwards is here with the news. Let's listen to Al.
The United States and Iran have reportedly held constructive discussions regarding Tehran's nuclear program, according to statements attributed to President Trump.
While details remain limited, officials indicated that progress was made and plans are in place for further dialogue. The talks come amidst ongoing efforts to manage tensions and find diplomatic solutions related to the nuclear issue. International observers are watching closely for signs of a potential agreement. Liam White reported.
Yesterday, U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance has arrived in India for a significant 4-day visit, marking the first trip by a U.S. Vice President to the country in over a decade.
Discussions are expected to focus heavily on strengthening bilateral ties and potentially advancing negotiations on a major U.S.-India trade deal. Other key geostrategic issues and areas of cooperation are also likely to be on the agenda. The visit underscores the importance of the relationship between the two nations. Jim Kender reporting.
The world is mourning the death of Pope Francis, who passed away early yesterday at the age of 88 following a battle with an illness. Tributes are pouring in from global leaders and citizens alike, remembering the first Latin American pontiff known for his humility and focus on the marginalized.
The Vatican has initiated the centuries-old process for selecting a successor, which involves specific rituals culminating in a papal conclave. Cardinals from around the world will gather to elect the next leader of the 1.4 billion Catholics globally. Details regarding the funeral arrangements are expected soon. Benjamin Wright reporting.
This is the latest news headlines.
Google is set to face the U.S. government in a Washington court over allegations that the tech giant operates an illegal monopoly in the online search market.
This case represents a major challenge to Google's dominance in search and online advertising. The outcome could significantly impact how the company operates and potentially reshape the digital landscape. Regulators are seeking remedies to ensure fair competition in the market. Kyle Norris reporting.
Severe weather-battered parts of the central United States over the weekend, leaving at least 3 people dead in Oklahoma. The storms brought tornadoes, large hail, damaging winds, and significant flooding to the region.
One fatality occurred when a tornado struck the community of Spalding, while 2 others, including a child, died when floodwaters swept away a vehicle near Moore. Emergency crews are continuing damage assessments and search operations as cleanup begins. Further rounds of storms are possible in the affected areas. Kevin Sanders reporting.
U.S. stock markets experienced a significant drop yesterday, with the Dow Jones Industrial Average falling at one point over 1,200 points.
Trump warned of a potential economic slowdown unless the central bank implements rate cuts. The market volatility reflects ongoing uncertainty surrounding trade tariffs and the administration's public comments on monetary policy. Investors are closely monitoring the situation and potential future actions by the Federal Reserve. Lawrence Keller reporting.
And that's the latest news headlines with Alan Edwards.
It sounds like some crazy homeless person just rambling in the background of the news.
I'm just saying that with all the new stock news, Steve is going to be like calling me saying, "Look, GD, come say goodbye to your stock because it's all gone."
Steve, like you're like on
I'm sorry, Dr. Steve. Dr. Steve. Yeah, Dr. Steve is going to be saying, like, "Look, come in, everybody come in, say goodbye to your 401ks. It's on, that's it. It only has like 3 days left."
Let's have a little respect for
We
it.
hear the stock rattle.
He didn't go to medical school for you to call him Steve.
I said Dr. Steve after I got corrected.
Yeah, well, whatever. I
understand. I mean, he even makes his mom call him doctor. I understand that. Even his parents is it's doctor. It's Dr. Poopy to you. Because they like go, hey, poopy. And he says it's Dr. Poopy.
I made the mistake of calling Dr. Miller Fred one time, and I'm still my ass still hurts because of it. So I don't want to do that anymore.
Why would you do such a thing? Disrespectful.
I know.
But my doctor assistant, I call her by her first name.
I'm trying to bring Dr. Stephen Drabeck into the room, and you just keep interrupting me. Would I interrupt you when you do your little thing in the morning? Do I ever interrupt you?
Not once.
Almost every time.
Maybe I don't know what an interruption is. Right. That explains my sex life. I don't know what interruption is.
By the way, get that feral cat out. I'm sorry. Doctor, I'm trying to read, Stephen. Don't be laughing when I'm trying to read. That's an interruption. Dr. Stephen Drabeck has dedicated over 40 years to medicine. You know what? I've been taking medicine for 40 years, too. Dedicated over 40 years to medicine, specializing in hospice and palliative care. I didn't even say that word right. With a special interest in chronic pain management in Oklahoma after surviving esophageal cancer at the age of 30 and experiencing chronic pain himself since 1996. He's got a book out called The Comfortologist, and he's here now. Let's say hello to Dr. Stephen Drabeck. Good morning, Dr. Drabeck.
Good morning.
Good morning, doctor.
I apologize for the disrespect from my sidekick there.
No disrespect. I've enjoyed listening to this, prepping for it.
Wow, you're the one. You're the one who enjoys.
You are the one.
Let me bring up the link to. I've shortened the link, the Amazon link that we have here, so make it easy for people. It's in the description if you want to go get the book. Tell me about the book. Who is it for? Is it for doctors? Is it for the general public? Who is it for?
It's for anyone who would benefit from it. Doctors would benefit from it greatly because of what medicine has kind of become. And what it's moved away from. It's moved away from the Marcus Welby side of medicine, the technical aspects of doing everything and anything to keep people alive. And it's to remind us that rule number one in life is we're all going to die. Rule number two, God decides. And rule number three, see rule number two.
Well, I would like to make that part number two negotiable, if I could. Like, I'm a Dr. Kevorkian guy. I think euthanasia should be allowed,
I agree.
and also in America.
I agree.
Youth in America.
I also agree. Yeah.
Youth should be allowed everywhere, not just in Asia.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's the oldest joke in the book.
No, the oldest joke in the book is knock knock. Who's there?
It's not a joke book. It's a book about hospice care and empathy.
It's real stories about real patients.
Oh.
And
we don't have any patience here. That's the problem. That's why we keep interrupting. We can't wait for someone to finish the sentence. We have no patience.
I figured that out. Oh, and by the way, I've been Steve longer than I've been doctor.
What?
Wow.
You know, weirdly enough, so have I.
Wow.
So my patients have called me Steve. Some of them would stop and interrupt themselves to apologize. And I'd say, no, I've been Steve longer than I've been doctor.
Wow.
All right. Now, what about Drabeck? Is that as old as Steve?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Start.
Now, I one of the things I'm curious about when it comes to hospice, because I think that hospice workers are some of the most in tune people that I think they're like some of the best at their job. I've had to deal with hospice on a few occasions, and they seem to know like when the person is like pretty much giving up the ghost. Now, like my mother had this thing like the death rattle and stuff like that. You know, you could hear this and that, but is there something that actually changes in because in the in I guess
That's my death rattle.
the death rattle. Oh, okay. It
Um,
looks like my baby rattle, except for I don't. You just okay. Never mind.
all right. Yeah, never mind. Never
The
mind this
human
question. Let's
body,
get to the good.
the power that be, for me, it's God, and everyone has their own supreme power. But before the human body was put on this earth, oddly enough, it was all figured out. And when the body starts to shut down, there's certain things that are going to happen. The death rattle is one of them. And of course, God has a wicked sense of humor as well, because I've seen people they come up and have the death rattle, and then it goes away. It's like a
That
tease.
it sounds like he's a sadist, not like a. That
I
doesn't
mean, it can
sound
be
like a
funny to
sense of
some
humor.
people. That's some
I'm just
Jesselnick humor.
Oddly enough, laughter can be one of the most beautiful things at that time in people's lives.
Yeah, I get it.
But
Totally.
no, when my sister was in hospice, and we knew that she had just a few hours left. At least I shouldn't say we knew. We were told that she had a few hours left. You know, when we came in, they said this is going to be the day. They knew. It's either they had like a little switch or there's like a little barcode on her butt that they scanned every day, and they go, "Nope, this is it. It's coming real soon." But we're still, I know the last thing that my sister was hearing was laughter. You know,
Right.
because we were all in the room telling stories and stuff like that. And so it's I just when you're saying I'm sorry, I'm trying to
Trying to say something, but we
Just
don't know
say
what it is.
I can hear this. Your viewpoint seems to be that God is a little bit more micromanaging, and I'm of a school of thought that God doesn't quite micromanage. That there's things set in motion, and they're going to happen when they're going to happen. It's more like a hands-off thing. It's like if I had a chicken farm and I said, okay, I will take care of, make sure there's no predators, but I'm not going to manage what the chickens do every day. The chickens know what they need to do. I'm not going to watch the chickens. They know how to grub. They know how to get worms, you know, and my job is to make sure that, you know, their environment is conducive to chickening. You know,
What's the question?
No, I started off by saying I think his viewpoint is that God micromanages, and my thing is that God is more hands off.
Well, all right, that's fine.
I don't think he
don't know.
micromanages. I think there's it's predetermined. I wasn't supposed to die 36 years ago when I had esophageal cancer at the age of 30. Why? Well, because God had more things to torment me with. And again, God.
So he made you get married. He made you get married. What?
That's a wonderful
Well, that's a
outlook.
different
I'm
story.
sorry, but sounds like my outlook on life.
But
That's just why
but
I laugh.
knowing in the final three years of residency is what we go through, and I was in my third year of residency when I was diagnosed with esophageal cancer. And in medicine, mostly people know that if you're diagnosed with esophageal cancer, that's it. That's absolutely it, because it's usually found much later in people because it's hidden. And mine was found early. It was literally the size of a dime, including the thickness. And the thickness of a dime in the esophagus means it hasn't spread elsewhere. But most of the time, you know, people have trouble swallowing, they have symptoms from it. I had none. I was fortunate because one of the things that we do as medical students, we had the opportunity to become laboratory rats. And my laboratory rat experience was a clinical trial for Zantac. I didn't have bad enough gastroesophageal reflux to qualify for the Zantac clinical trials. But because of that assessment that I had, they did an upper endoscopy or a scope, and there were answers that they couldn't come up with. And so the guy who was doing it sent me a letter that says, we don't know what's going on with you, but you ought to have this looked at in 5 years. 5 years later is when all the shit hit the fan, pardon my French, and
I don't think fan is French.
That sounds like Greek, no?
Yeah, I think. Let me look up fan. You keep talking. I'm gonna look up fan. I don't know what fan. Fan.
Okay, guys.
Because of that letter, I had an episode of vomiting. I vomited up a little bit of blood.
Oh.
And that led me to the Mayo Clinic in a circuitous or serpiginous pathway. And the guy who was a pioneer in esophageal cancer, he was in his 70s at the time, that's where I ended up. And those are what I refer to as God winks. There's a series of books called When God Winks. And that's when God has your six, as they say in the military.
Wow.
And, it's something that happens that tells you that there's a higher power that's looking out for you.
Now, when I was at the Mayo Clinic, Dr. Hellman's and Dr. Kraft, I think it was,
Uh-huh.
and
I
Dr.
apologize
Duke,
to him. He's going to be fired after today. We'll
That's
just get
okay.
rid of him. Now, is it unusual because I know several doctors. I've worked with many doctors. Some of them are people of faith, but they tend to try to hide it, especially among their colleagues. They don't talk about God.
Right.
You don't hear a lot. Is it? Do you find that maybe where you are, Oklahoma, they're a little more, I don't know, Bible friendly than New York? Is it something that is more common than I'm aware of, that doctors are of people of science and people of faith at the same time, simultaneously?
Right. It varies, but you know the difference between God and doctors, don't you?
Doctors think they're God, and God knows he's not a doctor.
The Bills?
No.
I don't know.
Well, it's close. The difference is God doesn't think he's a doctor.
Oh.
I've met many doctors who thought they were God.
That would explain my situation. I swear.
See, now that was funnier than both these comedians I've ever said.
Wow,
They didn't laugh because they were jealous.
They didn't get it.
That was, yeah.
I said it. We didn't get it. I said it.
So, that's one of my favorite jokes. But I've met doctors who are very God-fearing. I've met doctors who think they're God. One doctor actually said, "We are the givers of life."
It's easy to adopt that, because when you spend your entire life saving lives, you start to get a little bit of that kind of, wow, good for me. And it's good for the esteem, but I don't know if I would ever start to think I was divine, but it's got to be good for
I think it's a dangerous thing.
Yeah. But in hospice, my experience with hospice, and I've had a lot of it like GD, my experience is people say they're ready to die. They're ready to die. I say it every day on this program. People think I'm joking, but at the moment of death, they change their mind. With my mother, I can remember for 30 years she was, I can't wait to die. I can't wait to get. And then when it came down to like 15 minutes before she was dead, where are the doctors? Where is everybody? Is that common, where people just, the moment of death, it's hard to let go?
No, I don't think so. I think, one of the stories in my book is called I'm Done. And it's about a man who said to multiple doctors, "I'm done." And he had been transferred to the heart transplant unit where I was working, and he didn't want it because he was done. And it was a beautiful experience for me because I listened to him. I embraced what he wanted. And, you know, the reality is there's worse things than death. Go into a hospital, you can find things on every floor, but, you know, the biggest fear for doctors is death because they look at it as failure.
I think we should rebrand the show.
That kind of doesn't make sense to me, only because if they know that everybody's going to die, I'm just assuming. Well, I'm assuming that doctors understand that we're all going to die at some point.
Rule number one.
I'm just saying. I'm just assuming that they know that. So if the inevitable happens, that's not failure. I mean, if the inevitable, you know, it's like saying if I let this hammer go and it hits the ground, I mean, it was inevitable.
Right.
I was just prolonging it. I was just stopping that hammer from hitting the ground.
But you can choose where you drop. You can, but it's situational, right? Like, what if you accidentally let go of that hammer and you're holding it above a glass table? What if when that person dies, they're in the process of trying to fix that person? I think that's
what I'm saying is death is inevitable, like gravity. So I'm saying if I fail to fight gravity, that's not a failure because gravity has always been there. You know, gravity's going to be here when I'm gone.
I think he just likes to hear himself talk.
Matt, can you I like to hear the word. I like to say the word gravity. You missed the whole point.
All right. Dr. Drabeck or Steve. Can I call you Steve? Earlier you mentioned about Marcus Welby. I've had several doctors on and tried to wrap my head around why the medical profession has become what it is, and I think what it has become is corporatized to the point where doctors and nurses obviously gravitate towards that field because they are filled with empathy and caring about other people. They feel a calling to serve people, and then the industry of medical care beats that out of them by burning them out, overworking them, appreciating them, and all that stuff. And then they just become burnt out really quick. Does that resonate with you, or why do you feel like the medical industry has changed from what you called Dr. Welbyism, Marcus Welby, to stuff?
Well, I mean, it's technology is part of it. Some of it, the administrative side, the hospital administrators, their objective is to make more money, and we don't prolong life as much as we prolong death.
Right. Yeah. Prolong the billing cycle is what you
exactly.
That's not funny. Why am I laughing? Because I'm a sadist.
Because it's real. It's real.
But sad but true.
So how do you within yourself maintain that feeling of empathy, and that condition of care? Because you're up against the same pressures that all other doctors are to serve the facility, to serve the insurance, whatever. You're under the same pressures to give up that empathy.
I try not to bow down to that because what's more important is what the patient wants. And I've learned more as a patient than I could in 10 careers as a doctor. I mean, the esophageal
suggesting that doctors become like patients first?
Oh, I think that would be wonderful.
I think that would be awesome, dude. The amount of doctors that have that lack empathy and sympathy is crazy, dude. There's a lot of them.
Is that from personal experience, Stephen?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I almost bled to death. I have chronic pain. That's why I treat chronic pain.
Yeah, I have chronic pain, and I have doctors who
refuse.
I don't take anything on a regular basis. So if I ever go to the hospital, it's because I'm in really bad shape, and they'll look at me like, "Why are you here?" And it's like I'm miserable, and they're like, "Oh, you're a drug seeker," and it's like, "Oh, okay, cool, thanks."
Right.
Didn't even talk to me. Just goes
that's
right
all
to it.
based on the CDC guidelines that were published in 2016, but nowhere do those guidelines say treat people like crap.
Mm-hmm.
But
I don't think they use the word crap. That's Latin.
No,
they would use the Latin. They're doctors. They would use the Latin.
Good morning, Lizzie Ann.
Or French.
This. What are you? Well, I don't know what you're saying. This. the glad you survived comment right above that. I don't know what she's referring to. But Ken, sounds like I'm just using stock questions, and I am. But for the future of medicine, can you instill your desire to keep empathy within the profession into young doctors, or do you think this is like we're moving further and further away from that, and to the point where it becomes hopeless? All the medical profession, doctors, nurses, aides, even, are just going to be driven by the job, and the job is about money, and we forget about the human factor. I'm asking if you're an optimist for the medical profession.
Well, I am an optimist. As I always tell people, I'm the guy that digs through the horse shit looking for the pony. You know, you've got to talk to the patient. I've had so many people say to me, "Gosh, I didn't realize I could say no. I didn't realize that I had to do what the doctor says." You know, I don't want to have CPR because basically it's ineffective unless everything else is perfect. You know,
See, now
someone.
we have somebody in our chat room daily, or almost daily. He's a comedian, but he's also a nurse practitioner. And when he hears me saying, "I don't want to go to the hospital because I don't want to die in a hospital with tubes in me and all this stuff. I want to die at home." Well, then you're just going to suffer. You know, this is the idea that, of course, you have to go to the doctor and treat what's wrong with you. People do have the right to say, "I want to die, even though I know it's going to be painful. I just don't want to go
It
through all it.
doesn't
I don't
have
want to
to be
become a lab
painful,
rat."
though. It does not have to be painful.
It doesn't.
No, I can control your pain better at home than in the hospital.
What are we talking about? Because Tom Homan, I think, got 800, whatever it was, $870,000 worth of cocaine off the street, which would have controlled my pain fine. What are we talking about? Pharmaceutical?
Would have kept you in a hyper alert state and experiencing more pain. But I mean, doctors aren't trained to treat pain the right way. Stephen, for example, if he's got chronic pain, it's better to treat it ongoing than wait till it gets bad. It's the old tortoise versus the hare. And you know, the misconception that pain medicines make you, you know, sedated, impaired, however you want to phrase that, that's true when those medicines are abused. When you take too much, if you take the right amount on a regular basis, you know, not, and as doctors, every prescription is written as needed, which, oh gosh, I hurt bad, I should take more. And I've struggled with my chronic pain patients, take it by the clock, 6-12, 6-12. They just look at me funny, but that's because a pain medicine will last 6 hours. So taking an additional dose 6 hours later keeps it from diminishing and the pain coming back. It reaches a steady state in the body by taking it by the clock or around the clock.
But doesn't the body at some point, at least my understanding is that it's like a tolerance, basically build up a tolerance so that maybe 6-12 works for like the first week or two, but then after a while, you develop.
Tolerance is something that is used all the time, but tolerance is what happens when you take it for the wrong reason. If you take it for euphoria,
I have to apologize to Slaptail. He was saying that I should.
Euphoria takes more and more. But taking it routinely and regularly, tolerance is not an issue. Now, does your chronic condition that's causing the pain, does it progress over time? Does it get worse?
But I was those for a few years. I didn't have any cartilage in my knee, and I had to operate heavy machinery. and so I wouldn't take the drugs. Well, in the beginning, at the very, I take that back. In the very beginning, the pain was so bad. I think they gave me oxycodone. I think that's oxycodone. It was one of the oxy C's. And after like about 2 weeks, it seemed like I needed more of it to take care of the pain, taking it as prescribed. And so that's what happened after the point where they said, well, we'll need to up it. I said, well, no, because then I said, that's not happening to me. I stopped taking it altogether and I just dealt with the pain for the next 7 years.
You can't expect that medicine to take pain away.
No, I just want to be able to function.
We can manage it. We can't take it away.
Yeah, but I wanted to be able to. I never expected my pain to be quote taken away. I needed to be manageable.
Right.
And so, but I also operated heavy machinery, which could cause life or death. No, cause death. It didn't cause life, but it could cause death. And so I needed to be functional.
Right.
And when they wanted to up my dosage, I said, no, I need to keep my job. I will live with the pain. And I did for like 7 years until eventually I got the surgery.
I feel like this question has been lasting 7 years. I'm sorry.
Well, did the surgery take the pain away?
Oh yeah, the surgery did, but yeah, the surgery took the pain away from because they gave me
you don't have pain at all.
Well, emotional, but that's more from past relationships.
For me,
and looking at the stock market every day, that's really hurting.
That's true, but if you're 40 years old, you've got discomfort every day.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Well, I mean, I understand that I'm in my 60s. I understand.
140.
Well, I can tell you, like for me, for example, I stopped taking them the pain meds mostly due to the stigma and the crap I was getting from my ex-wife.
Stigma?
Oh yeah. When my work found out that I was taking pain medication, I took it by the clock. I tried just to go. My mom's an addict, so I didn't want to, fall prey to, getting hooked on it.
You didn't want to go down that same path.
Exactly. But when I would, like on my lunch break, I would take one, and one of my bosses saw it. And he goes, "Oh, what are you taking?" And I was like, "Oh, just some medication." And then I ended up getting hurt at work. They drug tested me, saw it was in my system, even though I had a drug note. They didn't fire me, but I was treated completely different after that because they were like, "Oh, well, you're taking painkillers. You can't,
Every negative experience you've had, I've had.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. So between that and then my ex-wife knowing that my ex-wife knew that my mom was an addict, so every time I would take one, she'd be like, "Oh, you're just like your mom. You're just getting high." So it was one of those things where I was like, I'll just be miserable and just not deal with the bullshit instead,
I understand, but what kind of person are you when you hurt? You're cranky. You're irritable.
I'm generally just really quiet and then mean. That's it.
Yeah.
Cranky and irritable, you say.
So Steven's just mad. No.
Yeah,
I'm just a younger man.
Everybody becomes me when they're hurt. That's interesting.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Steve, I have a question about doctors, training doctors, so to speak. There's a practice in the medical field where you hire actors to act out certain diseases, and the doctors have to guess what that's by the symptoms that they're acting. They're trying to guess. They're trying to treat. You understand what I'm saying? I think you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
They're actors. They're actors that are given a list of symptoms. They act out the symptoms, and the doctors have to treat them based on how they're acting. The symptoms.
You're gonorrhea.
So would it be better?
I had that experience with a person who had gonorrhea as a medical student.
Okay, so would it be beneficial for the doctors to also learn to act like the patients as opposed to hiring actors? No.
I think it would, but when it comes to medication or drugs, everybody's going to act stupid. They're going to act impaired.
Yeah.
That's not always true.
That's right.
So it's about educating the patients about their pain, I had a guy who came in to see me as a new patient. And before I would see the new patient, I would review their entire chart because it was the right thing to do. Nowhere in his chart was it written, but when he came in to see me, he had an amputation of his leg above the knee, which is more important than below the knee because it's more dysfunctional. And so I looked at him. I said, "When did you lose your leg?" Well, he lost his leg in a truck accident, and nowhere was it documented in his chart.
I understand. Couldn't people tell that he was missing a leg? I'm just curious.
I agree. But nobody thought that was a significant event for him. Or I had a guy who in his chart it said used cocaine. So my job as a pain management doctor is to dig further. So I asked this guy, I said, "I see that you've used cocaine." He said, "That's in my chart?" Yeah. And so he told me the story. He was in Korea in the military. He got a Dear John letter from his wife. So he went off on a tangent. He used cocaine for a short time. And that was 25 years ago. That wasn't documented in the chart. So I said, what do you do now? "Oh, well, I'm a minister." And we laughed every time he came in to see me because he had legitimate pain, or the person who admitted to using, I think it was marijuana. And so somebody put in the chart, last used, last night. That's all it said.
Wow.
Didn't say last night, 1968. It just said last night.
Right. So you're reading it in 2025 and you're thinking it was last night. Yeah.
And so, documenting the right thing, the right information, because everybody's done stupid things in their life. Well, except me.
Yeah, not me.
But I mean, we've all done silly things when we're young and stupid.
Yep.
And we deserve forgiveness for the right reason.
Wow.
And people do change.
Hallelujah. We're here.
No,
We're
I
at
know.
church today.
I've never done a stupid thing. I've done a smart thing for a stupid reason, but I've never done. No.
I'm sorry. I'm laughing. He said he'd never done a stupid thing.
No, I do smart things
roll
for
the
stupid
tape,
reasons.
Stephen. I'm sorry. Earlier, I mentioned Dr. Kevorkian. I don't know if you were already on the program when I mentioned Dr. Kevorkian, but
I heard
he was demonized, right? He was, and
he was
I
demonized.
think he was jailed even, right? Or
oh yeah, he went to prison.
Right. So where are we with that? Is that
there
is
there
the
are
medical
about
community?
it's called death with dignity now. It used to be called physician suicide. But
Right.
Dr. Kevorkian, I remember watching the Phil O'Donoghue show when he was on as a guest showing his suicide machine. He was a compassionate man. The people that he assisted were terminally ill. And when I did 3 years in one of the major hospitals in Oklahoma City, where I had a palliative service in the hospital. I'd see consultations, and then I also ran an inpatient hospice unit. We had 12 beds where we could transfer out of the hospital and just provide comfort. And one of my friends who was an emergency room doctor called me one day and he said, "Can you come see a patient?" I said, "Sure." I went down there and they said, "Oh, look, it's Dr. Death." I was kind of in a mood that day and I said, "Screw you, I'm Dr. Present Death." Dr. Pleasant Death, because I would see the patient and all the things the patient did not want had already been started. One guy, he was in his 40s in a nursing home. He did not want antibiotics. He didn't want anything to prolong his life. He wanted comfort. He did not want blood transfusions. he had blood hanging. He said, I don't want this. I said, okay. So we stopped it. And you know, we transferred him out of the hospital because that's what hospitals do. I get that. But why are we doing it when patients say, I do not want this?
Yeah, you know what? As you're talking, I'm thinking about because you were, uh, for all intents and purposes, what the esophageal cancer that you had was basically thought of as a death sentence for people, and a lot of people are faced with that, thinking there is no hope, and then they choose life-ending, whatever, Dr. Kevorkian way out. But
Or
do you believe?
or they eat a bullet.
Having been through what you've been through, do you believe in miracles?
Oh, I've seen
Miracles can
miracles,
happen.
yes.
So
Mine
how do
was a
you?
miracle, but
Yeah, how do you know it's time to let somebody go peacefully when there could be a miracle at any moment? That's a
well,
tough
I
thing
mean,
to wrestle
certain
with.
things, I mean, a malignancy, mine was so early. They took my entire esophagus out. I mean,
Wow.
I can get full up to here, but I look relatively normal. And like GD, psychologically, I've been harmed. And
Yeah.
I never got over that. But I look fairly normal. I've had a normal life. And,
Yeah.
you know, part of my book is about the things I personally experienced. I've looked death in the eye. I did not look death in the eye with my cancer. When I was
Huh.
bleeding in my stomach, which was in my chest, and it only bled when they were not looking at it. But I got 10
Wow.
units of blood in one day, and if they wouldn't have found the place where it was bleeding, they would not have been able to approach it surgically because they pulled my stomach up into my chest.
Wow.
And so, you know, humor, the doctor who did find it saved my life multiple times. He came into the ICU and he said, Steve, I'm going to look one more time. If I don't find it, you may wake up in surgery. I looked at him and I said, I don't want to wake up in surgery. He said, you know what I mean. He went on to say, well, we're going to use a pediatric colonoscope to look from the top. They'd already determined it came from the top half of my body. So when he said, we're going to use a pediatric colonoscope, I just looked at him. I said, well, that's a shitty thing to do. He didn't like the joke, but I still think it's funny to this day. And I dedicated my book to that doctor. He's a wonderful man. When he said, I don't know, I knew he had looked. He had researched. I mean, he was still the most incredible doctor I've ever worked with. He also sent patients to me when there was no hope, when what they needed was what I had to offer, which was listening to them and assuring them comfort.
Yeah, comfort is the most important part of dying. I think is because
Absolutely.
we talk about this all the time. I'm not afraid of being dead. I'm afraid of the moment of death. I'm afraid of the
Dying.
experience. Yeah, because birth was traumatic enough, right?
And death should be like birth.
I don't think my mother wanted me
So they
crawling
should
back up
spank you in the ass before you go. Get spanked in
Well,
the
I
ass one
think
time
death
before you
can be
go.
just as pleasant as birth.
Ooh.
Because when people who are suffering die, what goes away? Pain.
Oh, I was thinking
Suffering.
inheritance.
I'll say I was broken at birth, so if death is like birth, I'm not looking forward to that.
Well, they unbreak you. You get like a moment of
Oh, great! I can stand up just long enough to fall over.
You run the 40-yard dash and then die.
Super glue doesn't work.
Sweet, I'll take it.
But I mean, death doesn't have to be, you know, a wailing experience. I've seen that, and you know, it should be about comfort. It should be about laughing. It should be about talking about that person's life. I had an uncle who passed away at home, and when he passed away, my aunt called, my sister and I went to their house. And, he was on hospice. And so waiting for the funeral home to pick up the body, we all sat in the same room with my uncle telling stories about him when we were children. Funny things that he did. And that to me was a wonderful experience.
It's almost like a living wake.
Yes, absolutely.
That's what you do at a wake, except they're already gone. So yeah, it's something we struggle to wrap our head around, is the idea of dying in peace, dying on your own terms. I think is probably the way I would.
That's a good way to look at it. And the man in my book who said I'm done, he had a long story that it took a while, but when he said to me, "Let me tell you why," and his first words were 25 years ago. So I knew, all right, Steve, sit down. He's going to tell you the story, and it all made sense.
Yeah.
And that was watching his wife die on the side of a road. And
wow,
it was a tremendous experience. And I was lucky enough to be the one he told. His kids knew the story, but he never talked to his kids about it because he had 3 kids to raise as a single father.
Okay, I'm assuming that she died at the side of the road not because he killed her, but because it was an accident.
I was going to say this is something I want to talk to him about. Unfortunately, how do you drag her out to the side of the road as she's dying?
They bought a brand new car and they went for a drive, and they were changing drivers. He got out on the passenger side to go to the driver's side. She got out on the driver's side. Boom.
Wow.
Man.
And he looked at me. He said, "I can still see the smile on her face."
Tell her get out the driver's side. Okay. Thank you for
that. Matt, where you parked does matter. If you get on the driver's side and it has to be like a highway, and make sure that the wheels are on the line.
Wheels.
So that when the door opens, the door is actually in the lane.
Got it. Thank you very much for that. I'm set now.
He's doing the reverse of what normal people do. He's going to get out in the middle of the highway.
You just said normal people, so that we're lost. We don't know what you're talking about.
Now, with writing the book, do you tell people like in advance? I'd like to include your story in my book, if I may, or do they have no idea?
I use some people's names, and some I did not. One particular person in the book was the grandfather of a prominent college athlete. Did not use the name because I could not get a hold of this person to ask him.
Wow. To me, it seems like it's a way of making your life count for more extra, even no matter how significant your life contribution was, to know that you would end up in a book like this so that people might learn empathy and caring and all these kind of things from it is a great way to memorialize them and to make their life count for something extra. Right. And so I would be proud to be part of that kind of.
I mean, the stories to me are all phenomenal because, I mean, it starts with the death of my own mother when I was 6 years old, who died from an anesthetic error as a nurse. The anesthesiologist was her friend who later committed suicide. So there's all sorts of weird twists and turns. And then for me to run into the anesthesiologist who was on call at the other hospital the night my mother died who told me the story of her death. It's the first time I met him. And I said, yeah, anesthesia would be a little scary for me. And he said, well, there was this one case. And I just sat back and listened as he told me the story of my own mother's death. Answering
did he
questions.
know that it was your mother at the time when he told you the story?
No, he did not.
Okay.
But I'll never forget the look on his face when I told him. I said, that was my mother. And I learned from that story he told me things that I would have never known otherwise that gave me more peace as well.
Wow.
So that's why I say the God wink aspect of it. The book When God Winks is written by Squire Rushnell, and I've had so many God winks in my life. One is nearly bleeding to death and finding it at the last minute. One is the esophageal cancer and finding it not at the last minute. And just so many things, it makes you feel like your life has a purpose. Many of my colleagues say to me, Steve, I don't know how you do what you do. And I just tell them, I said, I love it. I would rather spend time with dying patients and making them comfortable. And it's people who need comfort as opposed to people who think they're dying.
Now,
and there's something you can do.
But it seems like also the fact that if you're there to comfort them because you know they're dying, you can't fail. It's not like if they lived, you fail.
Rule number one.
Yeah, they're all So
That's
you know what you're there. You're not there trying to save them, so there is no failure.
Right. But it's also at a time when that's what they need. That's what they want. But everyone else they talk to says there's nothing more we can do. I remember a surgeon walking out of a patient's room saying, this is a bad pancreatic cancer. You need to get your affairs in order, and leaving. That I don't leave. No, I assure them that I'm going to control their discomfort. And, people who choose hospice usually are not miserable physically. Psychologically, yeah, it's hard, but there's also the person who waits for that last family member to show up before they take their final breath. And I had a patient one. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Oh, well, you just said people who choose hospice. Does everybody who ends up in hospice or ends their life in hospice, is it always a conscious choice, or sometimes it's the doctors and family that
doctors don't suggest it early enough?
Yeah, my sister didn't choose it at all. My sister wound up there because she was in the hospital. They knew she wasn't getting better, and they said, well, we're going to move her to hospice. The same with my mother. My mother, they said, well, you should move her to hospice.
And was that a good move for both of them?
As far as I'm concerned, sure.
Okay.
They're not around for me to ask them. So I don't know.
How do you know they're not tapping you on the shoulder and
but I'm pretty sure my mother's not a tapper. And my mother and I made an agreement if a long time ago. She said that if I can reach you, if I can communicate with you from beyond, she says, I will give you the winning Powerball. Actually, it wasn't Powerball back then, it was just lottery. Oh. She goes, I will give you the winning lottery ticket. She says, right.
I was thinking because she's a black woman, she doesn't do the tapping, she would hit you with a shoe. She would throw a shoe at you.
No. So, and I told my mother, well, make sure it's a big one, because if by chance I figure that out, then I'm going to need therapy anyway. Even though you left me all this, she gave me the numbers, I'm going to still need therapy.
But you've seen how the lottery has ruined people's lives.
Yeah. Those are people who are, anything can ruin your life if you don't prepare for it and use it to your advantage.
I agree.
I'm not looking for it as a catch-all. It's a tool. It wouldn't ruin my life any more than my screwdriver or my hammer.
Well, I've asked many people, and I've seen a lot of people die. I've asked many of them for lottery numbers.
Oh yeah.
I'm confused. I know we're kind of almost out of time here, but I'm confused about this idea of the God wink thing, because earlier it seemed like, because you were talking about your own personal situation, you said it wasn't your time. God had decided it was. And I'm a person who struggles with the idea of faith and the creator and all this stuff to begin with. But I'm not sure whether you say our time is preordained or God waits to the minute and then says, gives you the little wink.
A God wink is when you go through something and you think, why would anyone do this to me? And you learn a lesson from it. The time you're late for your show because of a damn traffic jam. And then you realize that if you would have been on time, you would have been in the middle of that traffic jam and maybe died.
I brought that up in a court case. I was on a juror a couple of weeks ago, and a guy got hit by a bus, and he was suing. And people were talking about what ifs about his life and all this stuff, and what if he would have gone on to done all, and he's living a good life now. But my thought was, what if he was going to get murdered, and that bus did him a favor? He didn't show up to where he was supposed to get murdered that day, or something.
And if a frog had wings, he wouldn't bump his ass every time he jumps.
Right. But the what ifs, you can go down a lot of different. You can what if forever. You deal with what is.
Right.
Anyway, so the book, you're saying it's just about for anybody, but I think it's important for the medical industry. I keep calling it industry because it is an industry.
It is an industry.
For people within it to kind of read it and understand.
To treat people right.
Yeah. Empathy is the reason you became a doctor, a nurse, or a nurse's aide, or whatever you are. Empathy is the reason you got into that field, and I think.
How many times have you heard that from a medical person?
Just my wife once. But I assume, I mean, because if you're not that kind of person, you wouldn't get. There are plenty of ways to make money. You wouldn't do that if you didn't have some kind of
some people do it because they want to be in control. But the book is for people who are in the medical industry to realize and think about the why and the way they do what they do. It's also for the non-medical people, for the chronically ill, to have those conversations. If you don't want to have CPR, put it in writing, because that's the only way it's going to not be done. And you've also got to talk to your family. I was the advocate who said they don't want CPR. Stop.
Wow.
Or I would sign their do not resuscitate order, because as a physician, if they're not likely to live, why would you do that? Because you're going to break their ribs.
Right.
I mean, the little old lady who's 98 years old. I mean, if you do CPR on them, you're going to break their ribs.
Ouch. So yeah, we saved your life.
That's inhumane.
Now
we
you're in
treat
more
our pets
pain.
with more respect.
Yeah.
I mean,
well,
we euthanize our pets.
We appreciate your insight here, and I wish you great luck in spreading this message. And thank you for writing a book. Book is called Comfortologist. There's a link in the description to Amazon. I've shortened it. We got a bit.ly type of link in there where people can go and get the book. And hopefully we will help move a couple of copies of the book for you. Got to get the book, right, GD?
Got to get the book.
Yeah,
and that's what I called myself. I told my patients I'm a comfortologist. I specialize in comfort.
I think my drug dealer also calls himself that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but he's more likely to end up in prison.
Right. Probably me. I'll probably be the one. Anyway, thank you very much for being part of the program. I hope people do get the book, and appreciate
my
your
pleasure.
insight here.
Thank
Have
you.
a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye for now. Oh, I cut him off right in the middle of a bye-bye just to make DD feel better.
If he was attractive, he would have done it.
Yeah.
And
what?
I'm gonna say Slaptail had a question. Apparently, I guess we missed it.
I didn't see your question go through. What question?
No, he messaged me about it too, but it didn't come through.
That's weird. But he's on Twitch, right? Is there a problem with Twitch?
It has to be. I wonder if it was maybe length of question. I don't know, because that's the only thing I've seen come through from him since the last thing he posted.
Yeah, some words. I mean, there's some things if you post, if you use the wrong word, it will it'll clap onto that word, and so we're not saying that. So I don't know.
Graded, yeah.
Yeah, I've
That's
had
why you gotta
that.
go on
I've had
YouTube. On
messages.
YouTube, you could say anything.
No, you can't. I've had messages where I've tried to send through, and it stopped me. Yeah.
Wow. Because
Yeah.
I've seen all the hate stuff that I get.
But it's not the hatred. It's actually literally it's like a word or two that they don't like they won't let you use.
Yeah, like if you put like even like ass, sometimes we'll keep it from going through.
Ass?
Mm-hmm.
Well, as an example, yeah.
Like
I've had word, and I've actually had things I've go to send through, and I've had to reword it. I'll hit send, and it won't go anywhere.
Wow.
It disappears. Yeah, it disappears from my phone, and it doesn't show up anywhere. So I have to try it again.
Wow.
I'll reword it. When I reword it, it goes through.
Like you'll be on one of your suicide rants, and I'll be like, "No, Matt, don't kill yourself." But because I put the words "kill yourself," it doesn't go through. It just stops it.
No, it takes no out. Don't. It just doesn't take no. And I appreciate that. I don't know. Becky is still with us. I just good guess. I wish I would have walked in. If you would have walked in sooner, you would have seen us talking to a hot young woman about. It was also about kindness and empathy, but I don't know. See, when she was talking about grieving for her father, I just wanted to offer my services as a daddy, father figure if she had daddy issues. But then I found out
I'm proud of you for holding that back.
I know. I'm
not
growing.
me. I would love to have seen the rejection.
Yeah, that's true. I think I would have. I'm used to rejection anyway. Becky is still with us though, and I was chatting with Becky on Twitter the other night about this whole Dave Smith, Joe Rogan, Douglas Murray thing. It's still going. 3 weeks later, they're still arguing back and forth about this thing. And I wanted to invite Becky because I've never actually seen Becky's face, so I wanted to invite her on the program. And she wants to talk about people calling themselves experts. Anybody can call themselves experts, which I agree with. I mean, not that necessarily that makes you an expert, calling yourself an expert. People should be able to say whatever they want.
Well, as a certified forensic humorist, I don't see where people are pretending to be experts. I don't see that happening out there. Are there people pretending to be experts?
No.
I'm just saying this as a certified forensic humorist.
With respect to Dave, and with that lack of respect for Dave Smith. Dave Smith is one of these guys who says, "I never called myself an expert, but I want to debate experts, and I beat an expert, and I know everything that the experts don't know." That is a backhanded way of saying I'm an expert. I know better than everybody, but I never called myself an expert, and that is just bullshit. You can't have it both ways. Either you are declaring yourself an expert, you know better than everybody else, or you don't. It's simple as that. But that's my problem.
But can you know more than everybody else without being an expert because everybody else is just fucking stupid?
That's definitely a possibility. But when you acknowledge that somebody is an expert in their field, and you say I want to debate them, and then you say I beat that expert, you can't go back and say I never called myself an expert. You're just bullshitting people. Then.
Okay, for example, I really believe that Trump is an expert at manipulating the media.
I agree.
Okay, now I think he's an idiot in everything else.
Right.
So
I also agree on that.
So if I were to say I'm going to debate this expert in manipulating the media, but we don't talk about the media, we actually talk about, let's say, trade policy, I could actually say I beat an expert, even though we weren't discussing anything that he's an expert at.
Yeah, you're doing an apples and orange thing. That's not what I'm talking about.
No, I'm sorry. No, it was a pomegranate and key lime thing.
Well, I'm not an expert in fruits, but I will tell you this: you were doing a misappropriated comparison. They weren't the same thing as the Dave Smith thing.
I don't think so. That doesn't even.
Do you even know who Dave Smith is?
He's a baseball player. He played for the Pirates back in the 70s.
I think there was a Dave Smith who played for the Pirates back in the 70s.
I think so.
Of
and
course,
I think
Stephen can't remember that because Stephen wasn't born yet.
Yeah,
Jacoby. He had his picture was
not a thing yet.
Jacoby. I think that picture was Kent Jacoby, and he had like this wicked sidearm pitch he used to throw that used to like really. Oh,
I don't know if you know this about yourself, but you're becoming Willie. You are. Any day now, I expect to see you lining up for Kill Tony.
Willie Fenderson.
What was that? Did Kill Tony just call you? The beeping, buzzing, or was that your vibrating, running the battery getting low again?
Now, it's really funny that y'all can hear that. It's on the table right next to the microphone, but it was Facebook letting me know that somebody liked something I did. It's like, who cares?
Becky says she'll come on after she gets her inhaler. Inhaler.
What?
Is that a person? That's a job for you?
I know. That's what I was thinking. I have this thing. I don't know. I'm not going to talk about that. Listen, are you proud of me? I didn't talk about what I was going to talk about.
If you're not going to talk about it, quit bringing it up. The curiosity is killing me.
Are you curious?
I'm not bi-curious, just curious.
She's been waiting on the farm since yesterday. See, this is the problem with this whole pharmaceutical industry here. They want to take your money. They're just money hungry, but they're not really service. Oh, what is Slaptail saying? Looks like my question was too long. Sadly, it was a legit medical question that I wanted his opinion about. Well, I could give you his contact information.
Yeah, and also that whatever it is, it's God. God did it. It was God's plan. God decided. That's whatever.
This whole God thing in medicine, it's
I don't have a problem with the God thing in medicine. I think that I'm of the opinion that he thinks God is more involved than my school of thought says that God is involved in.
Are you an expert on God?
I'm an expert on being an expert at God.
Well, here's my thing, because if you
I'm an God expert.
If you believe in God,
yeah,
then you have to believe in like miracles and magic and all this.
Not necessarily. See, that's what I'm saying. It depends on your school of thought.
Wouldn't God be magical thinking just from on the basis of it being God?
It depends on your school of thought. It depends on your school of thought. There's
school. What school?
Yeah.
Because some people think God is an alien who's programmed everything, right?
And then some people think that God is more like a cosmic force, that just holds things together and isn't actively involved.
And there's some people that think he's a dude on a planet somewhere controlling.
Well, that goes back to the Carl Sagan thing. Before we can say talk about belief in God, you have to define.
Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Yeah, we've all heard the quote.
No, that's not what I was talking about. Not extraordinary. You shut up, you stupid fucking asshole, fucking butt.
You expert. Shut up, you expert in stupidity. Shut up, you expert in being.
I'm sorry. I forgot this was about kindness and empathy, and I got to be kind and empathy.
You gotta be kind.
Not the quote. The quote was we have to define God before we can say whether we believe in God.
Right.
Oh, that quote, yes. Almost as good of a quote.
I'm sorry.
And that's what I'm saying, because
I lost my empathy for Stephen.
The whole thing with the God wink and stuff like that. To me, there's some things that we can't explain, and things happen, and so people want to attribute it to God, and we can't argue it back, so to speak. Like he says, I wasn't supposed to die of esophageal cancer, and that's true, because according to logic, if something is supposed to happen, it happens.
All right.
If it doesn't happen, it wasn't supposed to happen. That's just logic.
Is Willie here? I thought Willie was here. That was it, but I thought he got a suntan or something. And how would he? He's always online for Kill Tony. But before, when he was talking about the guy who had the leg amputated above the knee, which is different than below the knee.
Yeah.
I couldn't help but I went on a mental journey to a place where I had a gig at a rehabilitation center, and I was late for it because the guy gave me really bad directions up in the woods in the North Shore, and I was late and I was lost.
Soul Joel's. Was that Soul Joel's?
No,
just
it's like Soul Joel's, except there's no fucking comedy going on there. But so I got there like 5 minutes late. Now I have a 60-pound PA system, and I park at the bottom of the hill, and I got to run up the hill with a 60-pound PA system, a guitar, and a mic stand, and all this stuff. Out of breath. I get into place, and I'm really ragged, and it's time to show. I'm 5 minutes late already, and I set up really quick, not looking around in the room. And then I'm like, I haven't even thought. I'm still out of breath. I haven't even thought of what song I'm going to start with. And I start with the Beatles with a little help from my friends. And the first line I sing is, "What would you do if I sang out of tune? Would you stand up and walk out on me?" And I look through the room and nobody has any legs. No legs, except for one guy who had one leg cut off just below the knee. And where the knee used to be, he had like a deli sausage. You know how they wrap up deli meat and it just hangs in there? That's what it looked like. That's where his knee. And I'm just thinking, well, that was a terrible song. What would you do if I sang out of tune? Would you stand up and walk on me? And there's one leg, and it's like a half a leg, and it's like a deli meat. And
it would have been worse if you sang out of tune.
Well, I was getting out of tune because I started laughing when I saw the deli meat bopping. He was saying you lose all control. This thing had a mind of its own. This little piece of deli meat that used to be his knee was bopping to the song, and it was just fucking hysterical to me. And I was trying not to laugh, but you could see boom, 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 a little sausage meat dancing along. So that's my story.
And you're sticking to it.
No empathy there, right, Steven? So, and Steven's jealous of the guy with the bouncing with the deli meat. I don't know if it was like ham. What was it? It was bologna, whatever it was. But you're a little jealous of him. I could tell. Now I know you have a heart out on your heart on, but I want to discuss these pictures these AI pictures you did of yourself last night, walking with the little white suit.
Oh, those are old. Those are almost a year old. Those came up in my my memories, so I reshared them.
I couldn't help but notice not just that you were standing and appeared to be like walking like a stud, kind of thin down. Can I say thin down? Slim.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, obviously, but also if I was 6 foot tall, I would. And I wouldn't look nearly as fat either. So
how tall are you?
I'm 5'5".
5'5". You're like fucking Joe Rogan in a wheelchair.
Stand up.
I'm taller than Joe Rogan.
You're 5'5" in your chair if you stand up without your chair.
Stand up.
That's a fucking huge cat. I gotta say.
That's a really big fucking cat. Oh my god.
A little stiff. He's a little stiff. He's not moving at all. He's just watching.
Taxidermied?
Well, she's actually in predator mode, and she's not moving because she doesn't want to startle the prey.
Lizzie Ann says not deli meat. All right, you wouldn't. I'd like that guy's kneecap sliced thin on rye.
No, you go to yesterday. No, not yesterday. Yesterday was Monday. So Saturday, my wife and I were in the supermarket. We're at the deli counter, and I'm ordering some lunch meat. And the lady looks at me and she goes, "How would you like that?" She says, "How would you like that slice?" And I said, she said, "How would you like that cut?" And I said, "You can use the slicer if you like. That's fine." I said, "If you want to cut it by hand, that's okay. But then all the slices are uneven." And she started laughing. And then everybody else, everybody started laughing. And then as I'm walking away, my wife goes, "You did a good thing," because she really needed a laugh. She was miserable before then.
Okay, well, hey, hold on. First of all,
wait, no, we'll get to that.
Okay.
I just want to say that he's a fucking nightmare. If you were in a store, any kind of store, and he comes walking in, run, quit your job and leave. That's
100%.
Now for Slaptail, I want to say both. He's 5'5"
Oh,
wide.
wow.
He's like a globe. He's a planet unto himself. He's planet.
Planet Fat Boy. Apparently,
I don't want to say Ortiz because that's not it. How about Jones? Well, you should go with Jones. No? Stephen Jones. Stephen Jones, wasn't he like a cult
I
leader?
think you should go with Hancock.
Stephen Hancock.
Yeah.
Stephen Foot Penis.
Yeah.
Stephen.
She didn't mean to hit the
Only
party.
if your penis is a foot. If your penis is a foot, then sure.
Hey, Lizzie Ann, by the way, she's crazy funny. I'll be performing with her Friday.
Well, why does you get her on the show? Why has she not been on it? We get all these comedians who are like you two guys who have never been funny in your life. Well, but if she's crazy funny, we want crazy, and we want.
I don't know. I haven't really thought about it until now.
Lizzie Ann, please. I would like to extend an invitation to you.
I will
come on the show and be funny, unlike these fucking losers. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to be empathetic and kind again. See, it happens. It slipped my mind that this was the day we were supposed to be.
I will send her. I will send her the information.
All right. I think my heart has been broken here because I thought.
But you have to promise to behave.
That's not gonna.
Why? Is she extraordinarily hot, and so Matt's not going to be able to control himself? Is that it?
I don't know. I can't tell by this YouTube icon.
Yeah,
she's kind of cartoonish looking.
Yeah, she's pretty up there. So
she is. How do good looking women get into comedy? I don't understand. Like you don't have to.
To the front door like everybody else.
No, but comedy is born out of the desire to kind of I don't know.
Fucked up, man, in different ways. So
you
can be pretty.
Looking, that doesn't happen. People.
You can be pretty and fucked up. It happens.
Yeah.
Look at GD.
I mean, you can be attractive and have issues, especially if you're, if that was all people saw of you, and you didn't.
I don't know. That'd be a question to ask her when she comes on.
Is Steven saying that GD is attractive? Is that what I just heard?
He's a good-looking dude.
You wouldn't be the first
fucking weirdo. You
wouldn't be the first to lie to my face.
Now,
I didn't say I'd fuck him. I just said he's a good-looking dude.
I think you would fuck him.
No.
Oh, he's too old.
No, as somebody that's been at cock level my whole life, I've just never had the urge to open my mouth to one. I'm good.
Cock level, you say?
Cock level.
Let's face it. You like teenagers. Let's just say that. Say less, he says. Me say less, or Steven say less, or
that means she'll be on.
Oh, anyway, is that what that means? Are you a translator? You are.
I said I didn't get that from that. I thought she was politely saying "shut the fuck up."
Oh, yeah. Now earlier, Dr. Drabeck was talking about esophageal cancer, and he said having trouble swallowing. And I noticed last night that you were having trouble swallowing, Stephen, and that's why you look like an Amish guy with cum stains in his mustache.
Oh my God. Why does it have to go that far every time?
I don't know. Because we're out of time almost, and I'm just trying to kill a few minutes until we fucking play this.
I know you love me and you want to keep me around, but Jesus Christ.
I don't really want to keep you around.
You probably killed
he's a pastor. She's a pastor's daughter. No, that explains why you'd want to get into comedy. Now, all these, I don't know if your dad wants to be a comedian, but all these, we got like 3 more pastors turned comedian book. What's going on with the church?
Do these pastors not watch the show?
Do they not watch the Dr. Reverend Jelly Roll? He's
well, now all these people who think the Rev is a real fucking tax exempt church on Sunday morning. That's fucking bizarre. How can you? The guy starts with a fuck yeah. How can you think that's a real fucking church?
I don't know, man.
Well, what's going on?
2025, dude. I don't know.
I am not going to tell the Reverend that you don't think he's a real church, because he thinks he's a real church, even though he doesn't have a tax exempt number.
But what's
Lizzie,
going
don't start
on with
picking
the
on
church?
me too now. Come on, jeez.
Wait, I just want to know what's going on that's making these guys who feel called to the pulpit and they feel like they have to spread the message of Jesus. And all of a sudden, you know what? It's not enough. I got to get in the comedy club and
it's the
yuck
money.
it up.
They're not getting enough money from the church, so they want to.
I'm willing to bet, pinky bet. Come on, pinky bet.
Get your stinky pinky away from me.
You're gonna get more in the plate.
Stop! I don't like it.
You're gonna get more in the plate at church than you're gonna get at the comedy club, especially on open mic. You don't even get a free drink.
What they do is when they do the jokes, they pass around the plate. So that's. And then
but the last time I did one of my jokes in a church, I got kicked out. So
they made me play an Easter game. My wife made me play some, and it was yesterday because the family was only here for.
Did you hide eggs in your ass?
You were here Sunday. Did you? Did you get roped into going to church with your wife on Sunday? Is that why you weren't here?
No. We played an Easter thing in the kitchen there, but it was with a bucket. And you take the Easter eggs and you have a blindfold on, whatever. You get prizes. But I got this bucket now. And I'm like, this is my new tip bucket, but it's got a bunny on it. It kind of makes me like
the Reverend didn't have a game in Blessings and Blasphemy. And the idea was you had to reach your hand into a bucket, and the bucket was filled with slime, and the eggs were at the bottom of the slime. But the problem was the first problem he found out was that the slime didn't stay slime if you didn't keep covering it up. It just got cement hard. So now he's got like a bucket of hard cement because it just dried up.
Yeah, kind of like that's probably why Stephen was having a problem swallowing last night because it was getting hard.
Oh my God!
What?
I'm
sorry.
What was I? Was I asleep?
Obviously, no. I take it back. You were swallowing just fine.
Oh my God. That's not a better correction on the previous statement. I don't know which one is better. So
I don't know. But Lizzie Ann says she doesn't. Her dad doesn't know she's a comedian. Listen, this is not something you can keep secret forever. You're gonna find it. You'll be driving past yucks down in wherever part of the world you're in, and see your name on the sign and say Lizzie Ann. Wait a minute, I got one of those at home.
Okay, now first of all, Lizzie, does he not know you're a comedian because he has like no sense of humor, so he doesn't know what you're saying is funny, or does he not know that you're a comedian because he doesn't quite know what a comedian is?
Your Honor, my client doesn't have to answer that stupid question.
Or we could just save the questions for when she's on. Do we have a day that we don't have both hours booked?
Well, see, he says we as if he's not going to get eliminated today.
No, I love you guys. Don't kick me out.
All right.
Obviously I can't kick you out because you're still here. So don't.
Wow, GD, I thought we were cool.
And you'd have to.
Cool. We are cool. You're the one who left. You're the one who left us for another job. Okay. All right. So don't.
I told Matt if he could match even half the pay, I'd stay.
Yeah. So I don't even want that. Fuck that.
I can match half the pay. I'll give it all to myself, though.
That's fair.
All right, fine. Fuck you. I'm done with empathy. We're done. This show about empathy and kindness, that ends here. Tomorrow we go back to mean, bullshit, cranky.
Well, who's the guest tomorrow? Dr. Kevorkian
you know what? I forget who's the guest. Big Rob, Rich Ross.
Rick Ross. I know. You kept saying Big Rich, and I know there's a Big Rich Green.
Rich Brock, I think it is. You know what? You would think Rich. You know what? Wouldn't you think Rich? His first name is Richard. Big Rich Brock.
I know Big Rich Green.
His name isn't Richard. Why would you call yourself Big Rich if your name isn't Richard?
Because he's rich.
Because he's big and rich. Well, there is big and rich in the country, you know.
Oh yeah, big and rich in country.
John Rich.
Yeah.
Ride a horse, save a cowboy. No, is that it? Ride a horse, save a cowboy. Yeah, whatever.
Save a horse, ride a cowboy.
That's it. Yeah. Ride a horse, save a cowboy. I don't know what I need drugs.
All right, guys, I have to take off and get out of here.
Take off, you fucking losing scumbag.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Are you still here? I thought you said you're gonna leave. Are you still here? You still what the fuck? You still here?
Stephen, before you go, I want to remind you that while you're on your way to your little pedophile job there where you're diddling kids or whatever, you're trading cell phones.
Your homeworking career.
Yeah. Don't forget to turn on your radio, okay?
Okay.
Bye for now.
Finish inside me. Finish inside me.
I'm coming for you!